got a crash out. You got an atheist is already crashing out. I don't get it, man. What do you mean? What's being yourself, bro? What does that mean? Imagine the hate. Aren't you getting that right now? Come on, bro. Atheist is dead. Atheist dad is gone. Dog is gone. It's over. Digital cope. Christianity is falling 3 to 5 years. It's ending. No, it's not. Not even close. Not even close. All the atheists, yes, that's correct. That's correct. Hello, everybody. Hello, everybody. It's 10:30 a.m. Mountain Standard Time. Is there a title for that music? I actually don't know. You're going to have to wait for Hello Listener to tell you. I think he just called it music for Jim Bob's opening. I had him make it just for me. So, hurry up, son. Got a couple of early atheist crash outs already. Welcome, welcome. What's up? Atheist is coping. He wouldn't be crashing out so hard if he didn't see some kind of truth. Yeah, that's why they all focus on it. I mean, if you were truly nihilistic and atheistic, you'd be listless. There wouldn't be a fight. There's nothing to fight if atheism is true. Literally, there's nothing to fight. What's there to fight for? There's no purpose in fighting. No purpose to anything. Sure as fire, I think so. It's pretty cool. So, we're going to look at a couple things. I did see an interesting video here on Japan. And before we look at Trent Horn debate some chick, I might get to this after because it's related. When we look at feminism and its trends, now technology itself probably is a variable that had some impact on the lower birth rates, generally speaking, just because modernity allows people to sort of, live a life of independence for a longer period of time, which, that affects it. You're not worried about eating. There's more you can do, right? And people sell it hard. There's other things you can do. Don't have kids. It's literally in every single TV show. I watched Mad Men. I'm watching Mad Men, and the through line for feminism is so rich. And I didn't notice years back, I wasn't as in tuned to all these things. But now that you have it, you can't unsee it in the shows. It's it's almost a main character at this point in everything. But it has an impact, And Japan's interesting because I wouldn't say Japan. I don't know how much Japan is affected by Western feminism, something about freedom of expression, probably sexual liberation. They have their own version of that. It's super weird. But they are at least a country that you can't separate their ethnicity from their nationality. And they're a good example of what happens if you maintain the cohesion of the identity itself. Japanese. I'm Japanese. They're not Japanese. Are you Japanese? What are you doing here? You're not Japanese. You know, you could be able to say that. We can't really, it's hard to say that with Americans. But they have a problem because if you don't reproduce, it doesn't matter. That's the thing. It just doesn't matter. She was insufferable. I'm afraid. I had this idea, but I didn't watch much or any of it. And Trent is just as hard to listen to as most of the OnlyFans chicks that show up. And I'm like, well, yeah, but it's kind of relevant. I want to see the topics they cover, maybe. But it might be one of those things where I just end the review, you know, an hour and a half early. So, actually, I'll start with the Japanese thing. Just because it's better. It's better. Anywho, goals up. Thank you so much. Support the best stream ever. Without further ado. Make sure you follow Ortho Thugs. We're going to be live tonight, okay? Get that going. All right.
Japan's population crisis is urgent. Japan just reported fewer than 700,000 births last year. That's the lowest in their history. And the government is panicking.
Put this in perspective for Japan. Obviously, it's much smaller, but like 200 just Indians, 200,000 come to America every year. So like they don't have the problem of immigration, but could you imagine they imported in proportion to the U.S. imported non-Japanese people? Can you imagine? And thank you, Josiah. I appreciate you. God bless you.
They're spending $25 billion a year to fix this, but nothing is working. Most people blame anime wife.
No sound? What? No sound on... Oh, hold on a second. There's no sound on the thing? Huh. Can't hear it? Okay, hold on a second. It's weird. Let me see. That's weird. Where is it?
Culture. Or herbivore men who
Where
never
is
learned
it?
100,000 births last year. That's the lowest in their history. And the government is panicking. They're spending $25 billion a year to fix this, but nothing is working. Most people blame anime waifus for raising an entire generation of men of culture.
Look at these people.
Or herbivore men who never learned to talk to girls because pixelated passion projects provide on-demand affection, drama, and climax. Those people are wrong. I'm John, and I study East Asian societies. Those stories are just a sideshow.
Where is it?
The real reason Japan is running out of babies isn't a lack of interest. It's a simple math problem that's impossible to solve, giving the whole country the Kumon kid face.
Nice.
In Japan today, having a family is an act of economic suicide for most young people. And the forces creating that reality are now spreading to the rest of the developed world. But here's what makes this...
Yeah, even that can be pushed back against, though, because, you know, this comes up in debates. I've seen it come up various times when Andrew debates. The economic reasoning, there might be people who use the reasoning of economics to not have kids, okay? But the problem is, like, you don't really point to the statistics to argue that that's somehow a cause, because the poorest people, the poorest countries have the most kids. So I wish people would just bat down this dichotomy. Like, they should just say stop doing that. That's just cope. You can have kids. You can have kids.
It's urgent. There's one fundamental financial shift happening right now in Japan that's a canary in a coal mine for your own future. I'll show you exactly what that is near the end. In the next few minutes, we're going to break down 4 social forces creating this crisis. We're going to label them as bosses. We'll look at what's actually driving the decline, the deeper reason those forces exist, what's been tried, and what this tells us about the reckoning coming for the rest of us.
Yeah, what's going to happen?
Let's start with the scale of what's happening. Japan's population peaked in 2008 at 128 million. By 2070, it's projected to drop to 87 million. That's losing the equivalent of Canada's entire population in 50 years. The government knows this is existential. They're spending trillions of yen annually trying to reverse the trend. None of it is working. But more on that later.
Who walks around with that kind of cash?
Now, most Western netizens love the cultural explanation. But when you actually look at the data, consumption rates for adult entertainment are similar to other developed countries. France watches plenty of non-pixelated entertainment too. Their native birth rate is 1.7. Japan is 1.15.
Yeah, it's everything. Like the whole trend everywhere. Now, you can't fully blame it on feminism because not all of these countries adopt the feminist view in the same way. Materialism is probably the philosophy. Now, keep in mind, when someone argues for feminism being good, guess what metric they use? Materialism. So I would say materialism, the root of all of these issues, the splintering of tradition, the moving away from values and duties, and placing your efforts on liberty and leisure is going to result in these things. This is how it's going to happen because everything's built on utility, not on a full sense of human existence, what's valuable as a human, why keep humanity alive, to what end are we doing what we do here? And if you remove Christianity as the underlying praxis and remove the Christian metaphysic, what are you left with? You're left with a bunch of weak, soft versions of spiritualism that could be packaged nicely on a shelf, and you can combine at home with a home kit, and you get stuff. You get stuff. Feelings and experiences and stuff. That's it.
The cultural theory being thrown around just doesn't hold up.
Wrong.
The real frame is simpler and much more structural. Japan's birth crisis is fundamentally a marriage crisis. And a marriage crisis is fundamentally an economic one. And the economic crisis is fundamentally a gender crisis. Here's a stat that locks it in. France has nearly
The problem in Japan is their World Bank. Yeah, but that's economics. It doesn't follow. Look at other countries that are completely poor, where you have all the reasons economically to say don't have kids, right? I'm poor, therefore don't have kids. I can't take care of my kids because I'm poor, therefore don't have kids. It just doesn't hold up against the poor countries. So there's something deeper going on.
5 births happening outside marriage. The UK is about half. Japan, 2%. If you're not married in Japan, you're almost certainly not having kids, and marriages are collapsing.
If you ask me, marriage is a trap.
Japan recorded fewer
There it is.
than 500,000 marriages for the 3rd year in a row in 2025. The lowest levels.
See, look, all of the remedies, when you do the correlative analysis, all of the things that are missing that, if present, may produce the outcome of more kids, more marriage, kids. Marriage, then kids. That's the reason to be married, essentially. So the primary reason to be married. Now, if you don't have the lattice work, right? The worldview of in what context does it matter to be married? If you don't have that, what do you have? You have this broken secular view of marriage where 3 dudes could get married and buy a child from a woman. Is that a marriage? Yeah, it's a legal thing. It's like you just, sign a waiver. If you remove, there's no incentive. So that's the thing is like, you can't just incentivize only. It has to be a worldview. It might work a little to give like some sort of tax cut or a bonus or something like that and infuse a nation by helping them, quote, get married. But it's such a broken system that if you incentivize people getting married, you're incentivizing sin outside of the church. So, a strict Orthodox position, it's not some easy fix that you can use semantics to cover up the problem. Oh, let's do a huge promotion for people to get married. Married what? Just legally? Outside of the context of the church, married? So that they could convince themselves that they're married, right? And now let's have kids because I'm married. It makes sense, right? It's a huge missing problem in the entire worldview. It's not just some topical phenomenon. It's deep rooted because it doesn't work. They have to argue, let's get married. Please get married, everybody. Why? Why? Economic reasons. Well, isn't that interesting? The myopic view on pure economics is one of the side effects of this materialistic view.
Since 1933, when the population was half of what it is today. So the question isn't, why aren't Japanese people having kids? The question is, why is getting married becoming impossible? And that's where the bosses come in.
There's the big bosses. Jim Bob is right, but I would bet that if you took all the money away from women, we'd end up with more babies. Oh yeah, well, not just the money. It's like it's not about like I get what you mean by that. It's more like if you start a trend that convinces women that not throwing them through the workforce and being used up by basically a corporate stranger. You're working for a different family. You're working for a corporate family. The husband, ultimately, the thing you're submitting to isn't the husband or the household and the church, ultimately. It's this corporate logo in place of the logos, basically. Gravy. And so how do you convince women to come back to the home? Well, many of them are up against this problem. They're exhausted from their jobs. They were told and promised that if they skip their child rearing years and got a doctorate or something like that, got some printout that they can frame and put behind them when they start a YouTube channel because the job that they learned for is not available or completely saturated. They're starting to realize they got duped. Now they're, some of them reaching 40 and realizing it's too late. What's my legacy? Where am I rooted? Am I rooted in a company? Am I rooted at the local bank? What have I done? But a lot of them have some pride where they don't want to say that the Christian paradigm is correct and the best for the men and the women. They don't want to say that if you immediately reduced women in the workforce and put them in the home, you'd not only be advocating for families, but you'd be increasing the wages of men who remained in the workforce in the absence of all those women. That's why the GDP argument is so stupid, because it's all you're really saying is if we just keep increasing debt and allow people to get credit cards, they have the sense of being liberated financially. It's not the only thing that people are valuing, and people are waking up to this. People are looking to value much deeper, meaningful ways of existing. Same phenomenon happened in the churches, right? You look at Ruslan's church, purely materialistic. Nothing about theosis, nothing about spiritual wellness and healing, nothing about sacraments, nothing about it. There's nothing there. People are craving that in the religious sphere. People who are, kind of notionally drawn toward a structured religion with rituals and practices, they're seeing that materialism is done. So we're at the unfortunate end of the train where there's no more track, unfortunately. Like I don't think there's a track you can just add, and be like, okay, no worries, we'll just add the track at the end and hit the lever, and the train will eventually get back on track. I think it's like 200 years. I think it's like a 200-year correction.
Quick plug, if you like these sorts of deep dives, please like and sub. The dating numbers tell the full story. A third of young people express no interest in romantic relationships at all. Among men in their 20s, nearly half have never had a girlfriend. 1 in 6 plan to never marry. Now here's what makes this interesting. The total fertility rate among married Japanese couples is 1.91. It's below
Nice,
replacement,
Giovanni.
but it's not a crisis. The crisis comes from the fact that fewer and fewer people are getting married in the first place, and that's where the social forces come in. Japanese women face what sociologists call the M-shaped employment curve. But to a young woman in Tokyo, it doesn't look like a letter. It looks like a career-ending cliff that you're expected to walk off the moment you say, I do.
Yeah, it should be. That's the thing, is they've been... The level of propaganda, especially women, just generally speaking, women might be more prone or vulnerable to propaganda by way of emotion and whatnot. But it's that first premise there, the lie that it's a walking off a cliff. In fact, it's the opposite. It's the opposite. For a woman who has a certain window in their prime where they're more beautiful than they'll ever be, they're more ready to have a child than they'll ever be. They have all the energy to be a mother than they'll ever have. And all of that, for the woman, not identical to the man and our trajectory in life. That's just how it is. You can't scream it's unfair. Take it up with God. That's just the reality descriptive. And they've been told, oh no, you can avoid it. You can do a longer parachute down so it doesn't hurt as much, right? But the problem is, if you take that parachute down and pretend you're going to break your fall, when you land finally, you have less. In other words, if you work for 15, 20 years avoiding a family because you were told this lie that you were going to get on top of the world and have a penthouse suite and a car, and you were basically like a dude, but you were a chick. You did it. You did the thing that men do in the man's world. Well, I'm sorry, you're not a man. So the effects of that are not the same as a man. And now what? 40 years, this amount of time goes by, you're outside of your rearing years. You no longer can have children, so you're not even viable to men. So what do? You start a book club? Like, it's a total opposite. They think the death is the marriage. No, it's not. The marriage is like the life source. That's everything. And that also puts you in, if you have children and they have children, a woman who has children is put in a role where they're actually respected and seen valuable in that network. It's not in a company. It's not because you have some status and you gained a certificate. It's much deeper and more meaningful and beautiful than that. But women have been lied to for so long about this. Oh, I'm not going to be trapped in a marriage. Yeah, you're going to be trapped at a company, tired, with wine-stained teeth, hoping to be invited to a wedding so you could be around young people. You're going to have the Chelsea Handler effect, where you're coping in your 50s and trying to tell yourself, no, it was the right decision to not be married and have kids. It's horrifying. That's what gets us so mad about feminists who are actually men, who pretend like, oh no, this is good for women. It's not. It's not good for women. People are attracted to a system that treats heaven like an exclusive club and only certain people can get in, ? I guess. I don't know where that question. Thank you so much for that. Not sure that was responding to, though. I'm a little bit embrangled.
I don't want to get married.
Women start their careers after school.
That's right.
But a huge number quit when they have kids. Some
Good.
come back later, but many don't. So when you graph this out, it looks
Good.
like a giant letter M. You start your career here, you drop off here to have kids,
Yep.
and you try to climb back up. But
Why?
in Japan, that middle dip is more like a cliff. This happens because Japanese workplaces still operate on the assumption that mothers will step back from careers. When a woman sees that having a baby means losing their career and that they'll still have to do all the chores at home, the trade-off becomes impossible.
No, what is this? Why are you adding all this violin music? You're supposed to wreck the lie of this. Don't add violin music, dude. You know what I mean? Like, they should get a violation for improper use of violin music. No, that's actually something worth acknowledging and looking at. Well, if that doesn't change, which it shouldn't, women have this idea of a career, they get married, they have kids, and then they raise the children. That's the best thing for society. That would be the female duty in that sense. And he's trying to fix it. He's trying to have everything, right? It's like this argument like, well, have your cake and eat it too. We got to solve the problem that women can both be good mothers, present mothers and wives, and work for Disney. Sorry. You don't get that. No matter how many times you say it in your head, it's possible. It's not. By the way, if you women start earlier having children, and by the way, there's a whole slew of men looking for that now. If you do that, guess what? By the time they leave and they're 18, you're in your early 40s, maybe even mid 30s. You have all the energy in the world. You can do all those things. You can pretend to be a boss babe after you raise your children.
Marriage stops looking like a team effort and starts looking like a trap. But even for couples who want to break through that bottleneck and get married, they hit a secondary wall, the economic one.
Economic. Would you agree that feminism has put more emphasis on contingency plans? It's always, what if this happens, but trust the loyalty is on a must-have list. Yes, almost all the arguments, if you notice the cut, all of the arguments are, yeah, but if I had that baby would have struggled so hard and been terrible. What? I was in debt when we had our first child. Not even an income. Imagine making all your choices based on your current status. I mean, you'd never do anything. That's like saying, I'm not going to finish a song, writing a song, because currently it's not finished. Okay. Test gift of monies to see if the mods can reply. Thank you, Steelborn. Appreciate you. Very dishonorable.
After Japan's economy crashed in the 90s, the job market split in two. Instead of steady, forever jobs, half of all young men now work gig jobs. These are part-time or contract roles with no safety net and no promise for the future. Think of adult life in Japan as a game you have to beat, but the bosses keep getting bigger. Researchers found a magic number. Men need to earn about 3 million yen a year to afford to get married. That's $20,000. And 7 out of 10 men can't beat it. They're not even hitting the starting line. The marriage data reflects it. Among men with non-regular employment, only about 1 in 5 get married. Among men with regular employment,
and the feminist is always talking about contingency plans, but for actual emergency situations or planning for emergencies and the after effects, they zone out. Well, yeah, think of long-term. The most long-term emergency plan would be marriage. Like the safety net and the support, and not only families, but when you have a family, you actually make connections with other families. So it's an interesting exponential phenomenon. If you have a family and you go to, let's say, an Orthodox parish and you see all these other families, you gravitate toward all the other families and you make these bonds, right, horizontally. The feminist only has bonds vertically, and they're measured by material gain. That's the only bonds they're capable of making, because the only one that's long-term and meaningful and can be rooted in the ground horizontally would be family to family. What else would it be? The woman makes their way up the career, and this goes for the single man as well. You make your way up the career, and your bonds are strictly between other individual nodes only. There's nothing, no deep connection. Even notice how, if you're around a single person, how they act around children is unique and different than if someone is a parent. Even if you see a man hold a child that's not his, you could almost tell, there's something there, right? There's some disconnect. The person who doesn't have a kid will be trying to talk to you as if in the presence of your children, you won't be half distracted the entire time. You know what I mean? It's just little things you can't know without the experience of being a parent. Now, this all plays into it because if the female is sold a vertical trajectory, but once they reach it and they're outside of their child rearing years and they no longer could have children, when they look horizontal finally, what do you see? You see nothing. You see a bunch of friends who have families. You see family photos. You see family vacations. You see family reunions. You see a shared experience of death in the family even. Even the losses is experienced through the family. You don't have any of that with the vertical feminist lie, upward to nowhere.
More than half do. But the problem is 40% of young men don't have a stable regular job. And even if you clear the income threshold, you're still facing the same boss. Because level 2 second health bar is housing. In Tokyo, newly built condos now average over 100 million yen in the greater area as of 2025. City center units push closer to 150 million yen. Prices keep rising, with some places jumping nearly 40% in a single year. If you're renting a family-sized place, you're easily looking at $1,300.
I can't even date for my church. Well, you have to convert, Giovanni. It's not likely you're going to find a huge dating pool in a time where there's maybe a conversion happening. You have to convert the woman. You have to bring the woman. She follows you into the church.
To 2,300 USD for about 500 square feet of actual living space. That's the size of a 2-car garage. And when the cost to raise a child through junior high school is over $100,000, that Kuban kid face just isn't about homework anymore.
Homework? What homework?
Now, you've probably seen the viral videos. Beautiful traditional Japanese houses for $500, sometimes free. The internet loves these stories. Just move to rural Japan and live the dream. But here's what those videos don't tell you. For most young Japanese, those homes aren't a solution. They're a form of economic exile. And there's a very specific reason nobody is actually taking them. While Japan has about 9 million vacant homes, the sad reality is career advancement only exists in cities. Some rural areas will give you a house for almost nothing. So you stay in Tokyo, you pay the rent, you fight through level 2. But staying in the game has a cost, because you'll meet the level 3 boss.
So Japan is basically Squid Games.
Japan's work culture makes family formation structurally impossible. Roughly 10% of the entire workforce, millions of people, are logging over 80 hours of overtime every month. That's 2 full extra work weeks on top of their regular hours. Over half of the workforce reports serious work-related stress. Among people working 60-plus hour weeks, more than 1 in 4 suspect they have depression or anxiety. The level 3 boss is the maintenance cost of staying in the game, and it never stops. It's a tax you pay every single week to keep your position.
Yeah, there's no base religion. It's just materialism.
Both women and men face this. Let's talk about women first. Wives handle 5 times more housework than husbands. And here's the part that breaks the system. Even women doing a full-time job still do 25 hours of housework per week. That's 65 or more hours of labor a week, working 2 jobs, one of which doesn't have.
Hey, Japan, you should make it illegal for women to be in the workforce. Now, the immediate reaction is, well, my house is too expensive and I need that second income. Yeah, maybe. There's going to be a short-term pain to this. Rip the Band-Aid off. And the Japanese actually have the power and the cohesion to make something like this happen, where they just make it. They're just like, no more. It's not allowed, actually. Very rare circumstances. This is an emergency. Well, if you remove all the women from the workforce, you'll at least see some spike in the pay. But the problem is, like Nacho said, none of the economic solutions and innovations can solve the underlying spiritual problem, which is, what is the family? What's the family? The family is the extension and the expression of the church. How are you going to look at life and make these bonds and make a meaningful relationship schema in your family? If it's not valuable, if it's not true, everything you point to is just this mechanical thing outside of the house called work and moving products around and things like this. For what? To come home and experience what? You know what I mean? You guys ever see that show where the people divide the working person and the home person? I think it was on Netflix or whatever. It was about dividing, basically splintering the mind into two different consciousness. And, it's a weird show, but the theme that I got that was ringing true about it was, this is what happens when you sort of split what it is that work is and what it is that home is, but they're completely separate. They're not connected. The work that you do is in the context of the family, which is in the context of the church. It's all connected,
Jim Bob, Grayskin Bustin Justin here. I have been saying this about Japan for years. A lot of people praise their homogeneous demographics as an advantage, and it is an advantage, I admit, but it does not outweigh the country's serious identity and spiritual problems. Be more, Japan.
Be more. Be more, yeah.
Have a paycheck or a lunch break, and both of which make you feel like you're failing. This expectation creates a double bind. If they have a kid, they usually have to quit their jobs. And if they try to stay, the office makes them pay for it. In Japanese offices, there's a secret rule for pregnant women. It is not just mean comments, it's a quiet pressure to make them feel like they don't belong. They call it matahara.
Nice. I need to do this for Indians at my gym. I'm going to learn this. I think I figured out a tattoo I'm going to finally get. This symbol, matahara. Nice. Now we're talking. Of course, Tengu. Thank you so much for the 20. Yeah. Propaganda is rich.
A combination of maternity and harassment. It's a series of hints that...
Yeah, this is propaganda right now. Totally wrong take. Bad piano music. Yeah. The men want the women home.
They aren't part of the team anymore. It gets skipped for big projects.
Never was.
Or hear whispers.
Always was. What's that mean with the astronaut? Always was or something? I bet if Godzilla was still around, they'd have more babies for sure.
That they aren't dedicated to the job. A legislator named Matsumoto described what she saw in her office.
Oh no.
There was only one mommy in the whole division. She was always saying sorry. I'm sorry. I have to go home.
Good.
It was very sad.
That's not sad. It's sad to have a kid have his mother. Who are you, Jonathan Tam? You're a terrible human. It's so sad women have to go home and be with their kids. No, it's sad to see a kid without their mother. What's more sad, the kid without the mother or the mother without the lanyard? Oh no, the mother without the lanyard. Oh no. Oh my goodness. And the woman was shunned out of the bar because she wanted to keep up and do shots with the men. But she said, oh, so sorry. I have to go home and be a mama. Oh, the tragedy.
That's the culture.
That's the culture. No, that's reality. What are you, trans?
Parenthood as apology. But the system isn't just breaking women, it's breaking men too. Fewer than 1 in 3 fathers make it home in time for family dinner. You're technically part of the family, but you're never actually there. Your kids know your voice from phone calls, not from dinner conversations.
Well, they also don't talk much. That's a cultural problem. But I mean, if the food's good enough, we have that too, where we're just silent and eating. But, you know, it's like in their culture, it's not like they, you know, I was trained in jewelry by predominantly Koreans. So I was around the culture of Korea in this case, not Japanese. But there's something about eating where there isn't a lot of like crosstalk. There's just a lot of slurping. You know, it's like my worst nightmare. GDP, yeah. What about the GDP?
Japan's parental leave policy looks generous on paper, but only roughly 2 in 5 men actually took paternity leave in 2024. The law gives you the right, but the culture treats it like a betrayal. Taking time off to care for your child signals you aren't committed to...
Yeah, so I'll just change the time. Make it later. And, or the family, the woman could take the kids, make a picnic, and meet the man, the Japanese man, in the forest.
To the team. You're technically allowed to leave, but everyone knows what it costs you. So men stay. They work the overtime. And
You should be ashamed of this music that you're doing, you guys. Jonathan, Tam, you should be ashamed at what you're doing right now.
Become the absent father the system demands them to be. But here's the final variable in the math that makes
Can you imagine someone holding a gun to this guy's head and saying, "Grow a beard"? Like the horror in his eyes. I cannot.
Hey Jim Bob, what does your tattoo mean? It's Japanese for get back in the kitchen.
It's so good. I'm gonna make that shirt though. Seriously, it's such a good shirt idea. Where is it? Where is it at? I'll go back and freeze frame it. Such a good shirt idea. How was your shirt mean? Means get back in the kitchen.
Family formation truly impossible. It's called double care. A growing number of workers, mostly women in their 30s and 40s, are being crushed by a simultaneous demand.
Dude, the music is so over the top.
Providing childcare for their kids and elderly care for their parents at the same time.
Put them teeth in, Grandma. They should be using the Sadness of Sorrow song from Naruto. This is so over the top.
1 in 10 facing that double duty quit work entirely.
He said double duty. Vagine, he said double duty. Vagine.
Hey Bucko, quit skipping my super chat, Steelborn.
Oh, sorry. Sorry, Steelborn. Steelborn needs a lot of attention. Steelborn, let's only read Steelborn chats from now on. All right, Steelborn. I blame Vagine for Japan's problems. Like the stream or you get furries. Curry furries. Thank you so much. I also am skeptical of Vagine. At least they have some rich classism in India. Test gift of monies to see if the mods can reply. Thank you so much, Steelborn. Even back when my wife was only 19, seeing her interact with my niece was crazy. Motherhood came so natural for her. I knew that day I would marry. Yeah, there is something about that too. I don't know how you reduce it to particular traits or characteristics, but I had the same experience with Megbob. Like very early. It was so weird. It was like, I'm going to impregnate you. Like, that's what it was like. Yeah.
8 out of 10 of those are women. When young people look at the future, they aren't just calculating the cost of...
Could it be the bowl cuts?
...diapers. They're calculating the likelihood they'll be spending their peak career years doing decades of unpaid work for 2 different generations.
I almost... Dude, it's funny you said that. I was making the thumbnail and I almost said that. I almost wrote it, but it's like, okay, people will get it while I review.
You rely on them.
Oh, it's so sad. What do we do?
In the real game, you don't fight these bosses one at a time. You fight them all at once.
So romantic,
survive,
I know.
you need
I
a
know.
perfect game.
I know it's romance.
Everything must align. It's not that it's impossible.
Woman.
It's that the margin for error
Women. Woman.
is so small that almost everyone fails. This is because of a structural failure sociologists call the stalled gender revolution.
Oh, great. Here we go. Here we go. This is such slop, you guys. I thought they were going to get to the core, but I'm glad I'm here to correct it. Oh, a sociologist studied it, and they came up with a stalled gender revolution. If only the gender revolution happened. No, listen, guy. There's no sociology distinction or theory you can come up with that undermines or changes the nature of reality, that men and women are different. Nothing. Yeah, but the stalled generation, it take too long for women to transform into men. It's taking too long. They will never. In fact, the burden of men, think about this. Think about the burden on women to be born into a time where they're expected socially to match up with men. Think about that. Now, even at the more micro scale, the effects of women through social media with the expectation of matching up with other women. Just the latter one is too much for women. Just the latter of trying to match up beauty standards with other women, with the addition of the filter, literally, of social media, produces all sorts of anxiety and depression. They're on more antidepressants than ever. Now add in the other weight that women are called to be equal to men somehow and match up. Sick, demonic. You know what I mean? You got to look at through the trends who's selling feminism and sort of like this, things could be swapped out. They can do everything equally, right? You know, we're heading toward an androgynous gray sludge transhumanist view of everything, right? It's like, stop pushing that stuff.
Cool it with the anti-Semitic remarks.
It's not a problem. It's just evolution, right? Yeah, exactly. Survival of the fittest, the morals of the might stuff. Yeah, I mean, that would be the secular description of what's going on, which will probably come up in next week's first ever premiere of a Scud debate between Steelborn, and Planet Peterson, hosted by the Ortho Thugs, hello listener Tony, and made by Jim Bob. Missed my first super chat. Sorry, McGinney. But here it is again. Since the topic is apropos, my second child was born this morning. Glory to God, a son. Glory to God, Jason. Awesome. Blessings to you and your family, Jason. That's awesome. Amazing. Is he a sin? Is he sinful? Is he sinful?
Woman started working full-time,
Yeah, exactly.
but things at home didn't change. Men didn't start doing more chores. The government didn't build enough support. It was half of a revolution that just stopped. Even after the massive push for womanomics in the last decade under late Prime Minister Shinzo Abe.
You know what womanomics is? It's just spending power.
The problem remains. Women face Matahara in a
Matahara! I will have a Matahara shirt up on probably this week.
labor market that still operates on 1970s assumptions about who does the unpaid work at home.
No, that's the lie right there. It's not unpaid work. If a woman is at home and she's doing work for the house, and the man is supplementing what would be the income of the woman. Now, even if the woman does some extra work on the side, the proper setup would be the man makes a disparately more amount than the woman, even if the woman brought in, a couple thousand here and there. That the woman doing the work at the home would be the duty, just like the man's duty would be to bring in the core chunk of the bacon. And you can't just reverse this. It's like some people try to do this where the woman is the primary breadwinner and the dad tries to be a mom at home. And they might get okay at it. They might get good at like just doing like things like this. But generally speaking, that's an anomaly if that occurred. But this is such a lie because now there's another lie you tell women, that being at home is just working for free. No, it's not. You're literally working at a home. The home isn't free. That's paid for. Would you like us to take it out of your paycheck? That's how stupid this model is of thinking. If we logged all the hours for wives at home doing a very valuable job, by the way, of taking care of the house and the home and the kids, and it's a disproportionate amount of work that they're doing. If you were to log the hours and then pay them, they would have to pay you. They'd just be paying you back the money.
Because the revolution stalled, men are trapped in a 1970s breadwinner identity that requires the kind of hours that make active fatherhood impossible.
Oh, this is such propaganda. This guy should be arrested. Don't make me king. Or do. Unbelievable. Such nasty little Asian gibbon. Nasty little gibbon, this one. Who even makes up this fake term unpaid work? Yeah, it doesn't matter. Yeah, exactly. I'm thinking of that as a meme, or I should do an animation of that, like the conversation of unpaid work. And it's just funny, like, oh, you get clothes, you get cars. Okay, cool. We'll pay you. And then you have to buy all of that stuff yourself. And you have to pay rent, by the way. And by the way, this is the kind of thinking that splits the family to begin with. That creates this weird tension, that there's not a proper hierarchy in the home that's reflective of the church. You just make it up, and then you're stuck with, a false sense of reality and expectations. It doesn't match reality. A division. Add in the vote in the home. Split the vote, right? Most women, because of the nature of women, maybe they vote a little left because of they're voting from a position of caring and nurturing, like motherhood, voting for children. It's so broken. This video got, oh man. I thought this was actually, I didn't preview any of this. I thought this guy was going to give like a really, like the swinging of the pendulum in the way we look at this stuff. We got to turn the ship around. He's not. He's just being like, well, how do we still maintain the lie of equality and egalitarianism? I mean, it's not working. What do we do, guys? I don't know. Maybe give up the lie of egalitarianism? How is that never an option with these people? They're like, no, we can't do that. Even conservative people, right? The lingering classical conservatives, they still are doubling down on this. Well, no, we can just, I don't want to do that. That seems very authoritarian and misogynistic. It's like, okay, how about the end of your country? How about that? How about the end of the civilized era for humanity, the current one? How about that? How about we have no more humans? Is that bad? Oh, yeah, as long as we did it through consent. That's the most important. Hey, are you okay with a trend that's leading to the end of civilization? Well, as long as it's done legally and nobody's stuff is stolen and women, we don't violate any rights or voting rights. Okay. It's how delusional. It's crazy. It's like a Black Mirror episode. King Jim Bob has a nice ring to it. Don't make, dude. There used to be so much blood. So much blood. So much.
The lack of interest in relationships we saw earlier isn't a mystery. It's what happens when the culture demands you to be a breadwinner, but the economy won't let you home for dinner. Nobody wins, and fewer people are choosing to play. The government sees declining birth rates and thinks the solution is making children more affordable.
Unbelievable. It's always materialistic. Everything about it. Oh, we'll change the amount of... Change a Excel spreadsheet. Change a Excel spreadsheet. And is that still how Japanese people do math or what? Hey. Han. Ken. Hey, Ken Wanobi. Can you run the numbers on household income, make it more affordable? Yeah, sure. Let me go to the table and count the white and black chips. Oh, maybe you guys are working longer hours because you're still counting with beans. Maybe stop doing that? I don't know. Maybe. No wonder, dude. No wonder you guys end up in the forest.
The real problem is the entire social...
To get back in line when I was young, I got the belt. Maybe it's time starting giving them the belt. Didn't get the belt. You know what I got? I got a dowel. I got like a Home Depot dowel. It wasn't like thick dowel. It was like a half inch. So I tricked my parents though so easily. Like if I knew I was going to get the dowel, I grew up tidy whities. Sorry to give you the image. And I would just put like 6 pairs of those on. And then just learn how to be like, oh, I'm sorry. That hurt.
Structure makes family formation incompatible with economic survival and career advancement.
The turtle's roof is a-crawled.
In 2023, Prime Minister Kishida called this Japan's last chance. He said, Japan is standing on the verge of whether we can continue to function as a society. As I said earlier, the government is spending $25 billion annually on
disgraceful
this. But they're hiding a piece of data that proves they already know it's failing.
Shameful.
Internal government projections have shown that even spending trillions of yen more would barely move the needle, a reality they rarely admit while announcing these massive budget packages. I'll show you that data in just a second. First, look at what they're actually trying. Families get 15,000 yen, roughly $100 per month for each child under 3. If you have 3 or more children, university is tuition free and that stipend doubles. They also built AI-powered matchmaking systems. Tokyo spent 300 million yen on a government dating app. 31 of Japan's...
Slow duration. Are you pushing to have birth out of a children? No, if you were listening, slow duration. You can't just combat this by advocating for sin, just for a utility response.
47 prefectures now...
Like I said, it's a much deeper issue, huge, deeper generational issue that has to do with combating materialism and pure utility. That's the going model. Everything's gauged through that lens, and it's not gauged through the lens of the church. There's such a deeper cut to the family than pure utility.
Now offer AI matchmaking services. They're trying to get people to leave Tokyo, so the government offers 1 million yen, about $7,000, per child for families willing to move from Tokyo to rural areas. By 2022, fewer than 2,400 people had taken that deal because the jobs are in the city. They didn't update the data since then, probably because there are so few takers. They also reformed work hours. New laws cap overtime.
Isn't orthodoxy gaining a foothold? I don't know if it's a foothold, but it's got a place to stand. Maybe is that synonymous with a foothold? Oh, foothold. I was thinking stronghold. Yeah, foothold.
Time at 45 hours per month, 360 hours per year. But there's a catch. Companies can use...
There's a catch. You have to show up to the cove and kill a dolphin.
special clauses to push that limit to 100 hours. The government's goal is to let 85% of men take paternity leave, but none of it is working.
my conditions. Take it or leave it.
Professor Masakazu Yamauchi from Waseda University puts it clearly. Rising living costs, persistent gendered divisions of labor, and long-standing patterns of delayed marriage cannot be solved by cash alone. Most Japanese people doubt these policies will actually work. And here's why they're right. The dating app assumes the problem is that people can't find each other, but young people are meeting just fine.
It's not about that.
They're just looking at what it takes to be a parent today and deciding it's not worth the cost.
Yeah, because it's materialistic. I'm trying to tell you, guy. If the filtering system to determine the value of marriage is purely economic, an economic prospect, then they'll never do it. The failure isn't whether or not it works on paper economically. Hello? It's a much deeper issue. This is like Japanese Ben Shapiro.
Are wives doing unpaid sex work?
No. I'm big in Japan.
Cost. The work hour cap sounds good, but laws don't change.
Well, that's one problem, but the thing is, it can't ever be reduced to economics. You can look at the economics, but the problem is you can't offer a solution unless the solution is paradigmatic. This is the problem with the thinking. Everyone's thinking in terms of the paradigm that actually produced the problem. Just like classical liberalism. Oh, how do we fight all this degeneracy? I didn't know it was going to get this far. I thought we were just going to give them, some weird lower tier certificate of marriage, and that's all they wanted, right? No, they want access to women's wombs. They want to buy children and dress them up. Oh, yeah, but if we can use more classical liberalism, though, to change it, right? No, you can't. The Deoia. Thank you so much.
Culture. When everyone around you is working unpaid overtime to show dedication, the legal cap just becomes the new minimum. The government is caught between demographic math and cultural identity. They can't make Japanese people have more children. They can't just change the economy and culture to support family formation. So they're importing work.
Well, you can. I agree. You can't just... it's like a snap of the finger. It's a generational issue. Someone should maybe do, what would be good for Japan is a massive propaganda campaign for how orthodoxy will save Japan. That's what should happen. Japanese people need to understand that it's a paradigm issue. It's not a policy fix. It's not just a mere incentive to have kids. There is a broken spiritual, philosophical problem. And we're seeing the fruits of it all now. They just never changed. They always filter through the thing that broke the system to begin with.
Workers while pretending that's not the actual
What's the title? It's called How Japan Finally Made It Impossible to Make Babies.
Policy. Japan has quadrupled its foreign worker population since 2007. New reforms passed in 2024 aimed to bring in 1.23 million.
It is a policy fix? No, it's not. No, they can't. You can't fix the problem with just incentives. It doesn't work like that. If there's no ultimate foundation for what a family is, for what marriage is, for why have kids, incentivizing people is putting a Band-Aid on a deep problem. You might get a little spike of people having kids for $7,000 or $50,000 or whatever it is you're going to just offer them. That doesn't fix anything. That's actually doubling down on the materialistic lens. You have to have a family and be willing to have a family in the face of the economic problem that is. That your duty to multiply is such a deeper rooted sacrament than measuring things on a table. You understand? It doesn't fix anything. But GDP, bro, instead of fixing, throw money at it. Yeah, that's all it is. Oh, well, maybe this problem of pure materialism could be solved with more materialism. Carrot, 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 carrot. What if we make carrot sushi and put it on the end of a stick? Does that work? What about carrot sushi, you guys? No. Incentives ain't helping military recruitment. Yeah, it doesn't work. And that's actually a really good point, Justin. Parallel to the problem, the philosophical problem. At some point in history, many times in history, men didn't need to really understand in some philosophical sense or a good argument why they would go to war. They already knew what they were defending. They already knew what was worth perhaps dying for or killing for even. That's gone. The disconnect of why join the military from the level of why would you do this to begin with and what does it mean for your family and your country, there is no, it's the world. What does it mean for Israel? Oh, well, forget all of that, little Johnny. Just think in terms of what you can get. You can get a lot of income and savings, and there's a lot of benefits, and you can move anywhere you want. And eventually, when you're done, you could become, someone who sits at a desk and oversees a bunch of chicks using Xbox controllers to bomb little kids from Burbank. It's great. Well, no, you can't engage with the thing that you're being offered in a proper lens. It's just purely materialistic. And that's why everyone's depressed. Everything's measured materialistically.
In workers by 2028. That's an intake of roughly 250 to 300,000 people every year. A record pace for a country that has historically been one of the most closed in the world. But this creates cultural tension. And with the election of tonight,
Sarah Fick comes in. Oh, you're trying to do opposition to tag? If God said to ground logic, then it must be shown that God is logical. No, that would assume God is subject to some other God called logical. What we're saying is logic needs an ontology. You can't just talk about logic, Sarah Fick, the 8-year-old. You can't just talk about logic. That's the thing in question. You're just making logic God and saying, well, if God grounds logic, then what? It has to be logical. Therefore, God is bound and by this external thing called logic, some sort of floating thing. No, logic is conceptual. This guy's just a doomer. He's dooming. He's dooming. And honestly, the entire thing is like, how do we fix this while maintaining everything that broke it? It's just like James Lindsay. How do we fix the problems that we're seeing, even by using the tool that it's like repatching a tree with a chainsaw. It's like you cut the tree into logs and you're like, oh no, we made a mistake. How do we patch up the trees, the tree parts? Someone says, well, why don't we develop a foundational glue that can not only patch the parts back together, but they graft back into each other and start growing again, theoretically. And he goes, yeah, no, I was going to use the chainsaw. What? That's like getting bit by a poisonous snake and just having the snake bite you again to try to reverse it.
Takaichi, the Japanese are rejecting immigration as the solution. And it seems
Jim Bob will never get a penny from you. I already expect that from atheists. We don't expect atheists to do anything. That's why Christians are more valuable to society than atheists. Christians are more philanthropic. They give. They actually work. They actually have a context for their life. No wonder you wouldn't give it. Why would I expect a penny from you, atheist? I expect nothing from you. Beyond money. I expect even less from you insofar as what you bring to society. Nothing.
Seems like the country is now stuck with a ticking demographic time bomb. I'm dropping a deep dive on this soon, so if you want to understand why one of the world's most advanced economies is terrified of the one thing that could save it, hit sub and click the bell.
The one thing that can save it? Did you guys hear the one thing that can save it from him yet? No.
So if the
Jim Bob, grounding is meta-ontological gods. Ontology is the instance of intelligibility. That's incoherent. You're going to need to write more clearly with your sentences. First, you have to talk about what the ontology of logic is, the laws of logic. All right, it's really simple. Are the laws of logic conceptual and universal, Seraphic? Will I get a yes or no answer from anybody, ever?
policies are failing and the birth rates aren't coming back, does that mean the country is simply headed for a slow motion collapse?
Oh, what a bastard. Did he say that? Of course he did. Get this guy out of here. You should be in jail.
This is where it gets interesting.
Put him in jail.
Do you understand?
Here's 500 pennies. Unfortunately, I'm not an atheist. Thank you. Yeah. Let's show atheist here. He's going to get me so bad by not giving me a donation. Dude, you see every day the generosity of Christians. Atheist.
Why Japan feels stuck. You have to look at the shape of the society. In 1980, Japan had about 7 working-age people for every retiree. It was a classic population pyramid, a wide base of young workers supporting a small number of elderly.
Thank you for your
Today,
shekels.
That pyramid hasn't just flattened, it's inverted. It's what demographers call a coffin shape. We are currently at 1.4 workers for every...
Oh, cool. You're going to import Zambians? Is that what you're going to do? Is that what you're offering Japan, Mr. Jonathan Tam? Are you even Japanese? I don't even think this guy's Japanese. I think this guy's in on it. Tam? Tam. Pretty sure Tam is Vietnamese. He hates Japanese people. He's like, oh, guys, I figured out the solution. We're going to import tribes. We're going to import tribes. No, they're going to do well at the Cove, though. I don't know their politics, but he sounds like a lefty. Yeah, this guy's a commie.
retiree. By 2050, that ratio is projected to hit 1-to-1.
Here, I have a solution, Japan. How about you take the 200,000 Indians we get every year?
Think about what a 1-to-1
Think about what they can do in tech.
society looks like. It means every single person working a job is effectively carrying a retiree on their back. Their taxes and healthcare premiums aren't building the future. They're just paying for the past. While the government spends $25 billion on babies, Japan's total social security bill runs over $1 trillion a year. The state has become a giant vacuum, draining the wealth of the young to keep the lights on for the old. And this demographic coffin creates a labor crisis. By 2040,
establish a transcendental necessity for God and why God is logical. I just asked you a question. When we're talking about logic, right? If we're talking about the transcendentals, we have to know the status of the transcendentals. So you got to start there. If it's the case that the status of transcendentals ontologically require a mind, a type of mind, not a human mind, then we're closer to an argument for God. Now, you can't do that. So you're sitting here trying to refute Tag, but you yourself, you don't even have the ontology of the things that you're referring to, like logic. You can't even tell me what they are from your view. Or reasoning. Or mind. You got nothing. All of your metaphysics are actually borrowed from Christianity in your lowly, pathetic effort to argue against Christianity from the Tag perspective. You're doing your own Tag, but the thing in question you're not dealing with. What's an explanation? What's a necessity? What's logical? What's not logical? You keep using these terms. I do not know if you know what that means. Here, I have 200 pennies. Thank you so much for the 200 pennies. Really appreciate it. Just need to figure out what shade of brown is needed to save Japan. Yeah, that's a good meme too. What color will save your country? Mass immigration is bad. Yeah, it's terrible. And the Japanese people are in a sort of a bind here because... Thank you. Thank you so much, Virginia.
Domo arigato. The curry will flow through Tokyo.
Japan faces a shortage of 11 million workers, roughly the entire.
Tag is recursive. So, you could say something circular, but what permits circularity is not the same at different levels. So, like, we accept circularity of all sorts of things, not in a formal argument, but the necessity for to even say something circular, it assumes something that's not reduced just to the formal arguments themselves or reasoning. There are preconditions for logic, reasoning, knowledge. You can't do any of this stuff unless there's invariant laws in place. The world has to be a certain way. There has to be a justification or an ontic for mind, an evaluator. You have to have meaning. You have to have language. There's all sorts of things that need to be the case, of course. And that's ultimately the argument, what the argument is pointing to. If immigration is your solution, then you have two problems. God bless from this Christian Protestant. Oh, thank you, Ray. Make your way to Divine Liturgy this week, Ray. Thank you for being here. Yeah, the immigration thing, they're really selling it hard. And I don't even know what, other than a long-term aggressive plan to become Orthodox, immigration is still operating under this paradigm of materialism. Cogs, just interchangeable widgets. The assumption here isn't just in feminism. Yeah, it's the same assumption. Like, this is just more sprinkled, type of egalitarianism, not in the sense of rights, but more like all cultures are just people trying to make a living and do stuff. That's all they are. That's all humans are. That's all nations are. Oh, it's just a different form of materialism that they're doing. It's just a different form of pure consumerism. That's not true. But people try to create solutions as if that's true. You just interchange the group, even if it's, a slightly different shade of brown. Well, guess what? They all still want a car and a house, and they buy stuff, and they like video games. So this is why the identity of a culture, if that's gone, then the identity of the family, what is that? It's just an individual floating individual, not connected to any fabric. But if the foundation of a society is the church, and the family is the expression of the church, and a multiplicity of families is what makes up a society or a town, suddenly you have a sense of duty and obligation. You have an underlying cohesion between your fellow man. You share a theological framework. You share basically the seasons of life through the church. You share a view of death and work and sacrifice. You share what it is to be a woman and a man in the house, out of the house. You can't do this with materialism. There's no chart that can give you the metaphysics. It can't give you that. Here's some pennies, same I give to all my ninjas. Thank you so much. Altervoid, $10. Thank you. Easy solution. I want to save my tribe, but just replace your tribe. I mean, they do think men and women should be interchangeable, so why not anyone surprised when they expanded to whole tribes? Yeah, that's exactly what's happening. Interchangeable widgets. The video of Africans landing in Spain on boats is horrifying. It's like Brown D-Day. Yeah, with the dinghies. The dinghies. The dinghies make it even worse because they really reflect the culture, too. The dinghies don't say we're coming to conquer from the classical view of history where the white man with the better guns and the flags and the helm and the cannons and the get up, right? Standing up, straight up, pointing to the island they're about to conquer. No. It's not like, here, we're coming to take over your country, but also make it better. No. It's the dinghies. Here we come. Sir, the enemy is arriving on shore. And they're just like starving, pooping off the side. And you know what? You look at that and you go, oh, it's not a threat, right? No, it's a different kind of threat. It's kind of weird, isn't it? It's like this weird soft threat where you're like, oh, no, they're just, you know, they're in a dire situation. Don't worry about it.
We have plenty of duty to bring wherever is needed.
That's right. You have a lot of that. First generation American, Indian parent. I don't want more of that in the U.S. I don't know how you as with an Indian parent are going to help me have 200,000 less of you move to my town, dude. I don't know how you do it. Like, how do you take India as you know it and all of the things that you learned as an Indian? Like, I'm not talking about you, but anyone who's coming from India now. How do you undo that? And there's no necessity to undo it anyway. There's no necessity to stop speaking Hindi. You don't need to. What you need to do is buy up a bunch of pre-made houses in a new lot in my town. You could debunk this video claiming to debunk tag. I'm not an atheist, was just copying the argument. I don't know. I don't see an argument. I'm still waiting for the argument. Spain is cooked, yeah. Why can't you let me do whatever I want? So what if the replacement rate is low? Just import immigrants. It's worked so well. Yeah, look at the UK. Look at And also look at the response. Look at Poland putting up a fight. Or Hungary. Or Japan. Now, Japan has a different problem. They've somehow maintained their identity and their strictness, their homogenous identity and what they do and what's okay and what's not okay. For the most part, immigration policy has been pretty pristine. But now they have a different problem because this is the thing. If you don't build what the thing you're protecting, there's nothing to protect. There's nothing to protect if you can't replace it, if you can't repopulate and reproduce. You got to replicate what you are.
Good Jim Bob is good. Jim Bob.
Thank you. That was almost a full sentence, Vagine. It's insane when a society's biggest problem is convincing young people to get married and make babies. Yeah, make the society. And OnlyFans has rewired the youth's biology. Absolutely. All of it. Oh, it's horrific. All of it should be illegal. That is crazy, though. It really is nuts, Eli, because you're basically saying the hardest thing to convince people what's good for society is making society, literally. They're like, that's the hardest part to get through, you know. I love society, and I love being in a society, but only insofar as my, 70 to 90 years here is concerned. It's selfish. The whole thing. It's so selfish.
Higher population of Greece. Japan's response isn't to give up, it's to automate. Japan produces over a third of the world's industrial robots, more than any country except China. We're seeing Marital robots in agriculture. Work that used to take 20 hours.
Can you at least put a rice hat on the robot? I mean, come on. You can't put the little hat on it? I'm just upset. Keep the culture. Keep the aesthetic of rice paddy farming. Don't worry, Japan is working hard to that artificial womb to work. Yeah. What's his name's going to come in, right? Everyone's been praising Elon Musk because he accurately, after many other people did all the work, determined that we have a population problem. And all the right-wingers are like, yeah, he's so based. He's going to be like, here's my external womb. So you can raise a room, go to the mall, and essentially get a Tesla baby womb. Tesla build a human womb. Yeah. So. Okay. No.
Now it takes one. In convenience stores, the lifeblood of Japanese cities, are now experimenting with fully autonomous staff. Japan is betting everything on robots to fix the worker shortage. While it may solve...
I don't even think he's Japanese. Tam, I think he's Vietnamese. I think. If I remember my sounds correctly.
Jim Bob,
Yeah?
thank you for all that you do.
You're welcome.
I will return again with continued support.
Oh, thank you.
God bless.
Thank you so much for your continued support.
the labor shortage,
Tesla
it
babies.
doesn't solve the social shortage.
So cool. And so the future will populate Mars with Tesla babies.
Robots do everything faster.
Financially speaking, this demographic coffin keeps the economy stuck. Japanese households are sitting on nearly $14 trillion in financial assets, the majority of it controlled by people over 65, and they aren't investing it in the future. They keep it in safe bets: banks, utilities, and old-school industries. Meanwhile, the shrinking younger generation is doing the opposite. They're sending their capital out of Japan into global index funds so they can capture the high upside of future growth.
It's all materialism crap, dude. Oh, it's so bad. Like, not a single thing is really being properly examined in that video. Terrible. Horrifying. And the problems with materialism and just pure economics guiding the identity of a culture and why people are alive and why to reproduce and why are they here to begin with, we can probably fix it with more of the same materialism and movement of money and assets. And if we change the movement of money and assets and get people to participate in consumerism in a different way, maybe they'll just suddenly gain the spiritual discernment of what a family is and why a family is. Maybe they'll just accidentally get it. You know what I mean? Maybe they'll just accidentally do it. You know what's going downhill? Would they rather buy robot girlfriends and not have kids? Yeah, I mean, here's the good news is that people who actually do multiply, if they could keep the immigration down, in a couple of generations, it's going to be looking good. Now, here's the problem. Immigration is not only a problem for the identity of the culture. Pluralizing something is not good for the system that is a society. It's not good. It's incompatible behaviors, languages. It doesn't work. It's not workable. But beyond that, I said this on another stream. While we're trying to have children to build up the very fabric of the identity, right? If from an Orthodox position, we're trying to convert and have children. Think about this. We have to have children maintain our local lives, maintain our church life, maintain all of this stuff, economics included. And we have to raise our children and hope and pray that they maintain their position and standing in the church. And it takes, all that time, and we continue that support even after they are adults and they get married. That we hope and pray and do everything we can to maintain that they're in good standing in the church and participating. And all the while, you import people who already grew up. They're already 40. They're already 30. They're already grown up. You just import them. So the Christian, predominantly white Christian people who are having children and trying to live a based life that's building towards a society that's more homogenous and cohesive in what it is, who you are. What is the society we want? What do we want it to look like? We're trying to build that. And we're supposed to actually do the long route and have children and do it properly so that the children are embedded in the culture, in the society. They already belong from birth. They're cradle Americans, in a sense. Same way we look at a cradle Orthodox. They're in it. And we have to do all that work, right? And it's completely unfair that you just import 200,000 from this country, 200,000 from another. They didn't have to do all the work of having children and raising them according to the current culture. They just come in. It's like skipping the line. They get to skip the line. And all these liberals and even some conservatives who are ultimately just arguing for materialism, you know, even before his death, Charlie Kirk would still be arguing mass immigration, right? If it was mass, it would need to be for a good economic reason. That the demographic replacement is fine as long as it's done legally. Oh, as long as you can hire them. I mean, this is really good for capitalism, right? Yeah, but just think about the GDP. Think about it. It's great. What about the GDP, Jim Bob? Aren't you a conservative? So bad.
Feminism
Why is she dressed like Popeye?
has become a
Put your tits away, lady. Go solve a phone problem.
well-worn punching bag in recent years for any and all social ills people wish to task it with, from male malaise to collapsing birth rates, erectile dysfunction, male suicide, antidepressants, divorce, and more. People have pointed the finger at female promiscuity in particular for ushering in the supposed moral decay we've all been mirrored in. Women postponing marriage, putting off children, participating in premarital sex, and pimping themselves out on porn sites has been found.
Speaking of, put your tits away, you degenerate IT manager.
Fashioned into a cultural boogeyman for everyone to raise pitchforks at. The red pill movement, traditional conservatism, which is often just red pill in sheep's clothing, and the pink pill
You foul little poop chucker.
have all coalesced on a campaign to convince women that they'd be much happier if they abandoned their modern lifestyles and gave in to their hardwired purpose, marriage. These anti-feminists proselytize that the modern woman debases herself by trading off on her most prized possession in pursuit of hollow ends and
You are a hollow shell. You don't even have there's not even a person in there.
fearmongers her to consider how her body count, digital footprint, and feminist worldview might be an impediment to locking down a husband.
Is this AI?
Unsurprisingly, one of the most common criticisms I've heard as an OnlyFans creator is that I'll be hard-pressed to find a guy who takes me seriously and respects me.
No one will respect you, poop chucker.
But frankly, I struggle to see how men en masse respect the women they supposedly claim to, their girlfriends, wives, and the mothers of their children. Because despite an increasingly in vogue anti-feminist zeitgeist,
Oh, this is so bad. This is like when they first learned to debate in 10th grade. And they just like read it cold. It's just like, and then I did this, and then what about this, and the zeitgeist and stuff, and then boobies. And then okay, Mrs. Clifford, I'm done.
I don't believe that sex grounded in love or marriage is inherently more respectful or self-actualizing for women than sex grounded in lust or transaction. Sex grounded in love is often entitled. A man named Randy Vanett repeatedly essayed his 50-year-old partner while she was passed out on pain meds battling throat cancer. He told her about this, and she told him this makes her feel violated, but he said it's to make up for the times that her pain got in the way of them having sex.
What?
So she wiretapped a confession out of him and reported him to the police, where he confessed.
Of course. Wow, are we surprised? She's wearing a scandalous version of Japanese children's school. Yeah, she should be put in jail.
It again. Despite this, the police told Randy that he's done nothing wrong and declined to prosecute.
Look at Trent Horn doing everything he can not to look down at the crack. That's a pencil holder. That's a pencil holder. That's a pencil holder. That's a pencil holder. That's a pencil holder.
Your husband is the man in your life most likely to rape you. There's often an impulse to assume this sort of statistic cashes out in a watered-down definition of consent and rape, but make no mistake, husbands perpetrate the most violent and repetitive forms of rape. Further, police officers are more prone to dismiss rape reports of this kind due to prejudice that consent is implied by relationships. So not only does sex grounded in love often lack consent, but this loving rape is more likely to be protected as your partner's prerogative. After all, it wasn't too long ago that marital rape was legal in this country. Sex grounded in love is often violent. Over 5,000 women a day are beaten by an intimate partner in the United States.
Yeah, you should see the ones, statistics in lesbian relationships, whatever that means.
Over 90% of battered women say jealousy was a
He looks like a 65-year-old, 13-year-old boy.
repeated trigger, and the majority of male perpetrators of domestic violence report this is the case as well. Thus, the sexual possessiveness, commonly featured in
Just
love
a
and
drone.
monogamy, routinely
Empty
endangers
drone.
women. Sex grounded in love is often lethal. A man named Kenneth
What argument is this? Sex grounded in love? What are you talking about? What is happening? Yap, 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 yap.
Peacock returned from
How would you know? What are you talking about? Your philosophy can't even tell me what love is. It's just a chemical. How would you distinguish a sex grounded in love versus not grounded in love? How would you possibly discern that in a sample set? There's a guy who wrote a paper about sex grounded in love, and he's just pontificating, and he wrote it in his loft.
from work to discover his wife in bed with another man. After chasing away the lover at gunpoint, he argued with his wife for hours, drank beer and wine, and then shot her in the head with a hunting rifle. Rather than being sentenced to the typical 25 years,
This anecdote is so crazy. I could just say, yeah, there was recently a guy who fell in love with an AI non-person, and he convinced him to off himself or his mom. Yeah, and?
this sort of crime typically carries, he was sentenced to a mere 18 months in prison
It's
and
only
50
a
hours
tiny
of
bit
community
better.
service.
I'm
The judge
not
on the case
surprised
said he
by that.
wishes he didn't have to impose any prison time at all because, quote, I cannot think of a situation which would provoke an uncontrollable rage more than this one. I question how any man could have the strength to walk away without inflicting some sort of corporal punishment, end quote. In other words, executing his wife for betraying sexual exclusivity was treated as not only understandable, but a justified and proportional.
How did we get here, you guys? I mean, how did we get here?
Punishment. Your husband is the man in your life most likely to kill you, and more than 3 women fall victim to domestic homicide every single day in this country. If he kills you in the name of sexual jealousy, he might benefit from a crime of passion defense, drawing from English common law, which decreed that catching a cheating spouse was the highest violation of property law and thus justified murder. Even though men commit adultery at much higher rates than women,
I don't think that's true.
crime of passion defenses exclusively benefit men as they perpetrate 99% of domestic
Blah, 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 blah. I'm literally reading ChatGPT. If I can read the whole ChatGPT in the amount of time in my opening, I will do good. I am doing good at debating if I read this properly. If I read all these things properly and the person doesn't refute the things that I'm reading, maybe I will win the debate.
homicide. Sex grounded in love is often weaponized to excuse infidelity. 70% of married men watch pornography, and if you press a man on why he thinks it's okay to watch porn while in a relationship, despite the fact that his partner is statistically likely to not be okay with it, odds are he'll say it's meaningless because it's purely
Oh, the odds are... Dude, what is she even saying? The odds are... I'm going to explain the odds, and I'm just going to... Let me just say it. It's probably like this, and I think it's like this. So, anyway. Trent, can you actually refute my opinions on this? Gosh, you're dead inside, lady. I don't get it. Are you saying antinatalists and nihilism isn't the way to go? Transhumanism is okay, right? These people are insane. Yeah. They don't even know where they stand. Like, and also they're so spiritually dead, they're not even in any panic. Like, they should be in a panic. This should be like an existential crisis for these people.
physical. He doesn't love these other women. Thus, sex through a medium of love often means being cuckolded while he gets off to other women. If he's had an extramarital affair, as
what could he possibly be taking notes on? How in the world are they ascertaining the grounding for sex or people engaging? Yeah, I would just, all you need to do, now he won't do that because Trent Horn doesn't operate in not granting people things and being like, wait a second, let's say your entire tirade here, lady, with your fake glasses, you know those aren't prescriptive. Your entire statement is about the difference between the outcomes of sex grounded in love and not. How would you determine that?
20% of husbands do, though this
I bet
number is
I bet
likely
she doesn't even
lowballed,
ask that.
since cheaters don't tend to be the most honest narrators of their own betrayals. He might swear it didn't mean anything either, since he doesn't love this other woman. Thus, men cower behind the sentiment of love to justify their infidelity as harmless. Sex grounded...
Can knowledge arise naturally? Also, what's the proof for transcendentals? Proof would be a transcendental, so asking for proof. Where's proof? Is there a thing called proof in the world? What are you saying? Where is this thing called proof? You can't talk without assuming transcendentals. So asking for proof of transcendentals, coincidentally, you're affirming the thing you're asking for proof for. And no, knowledge can't arise naturally. Whatever you think that means, that would be autonomous and arises from particulars. No. They can't. There's only 2 options, Seraphic. there's theonomous or autonomous. And we know it's theonomous because autonomous would make knowledge impossible and make everything nominal and relative. So there's only two options. Now, if you can produce a third option and say, okay, I see, you're presenting a dilemma. It's either theonomous epistemology and top down, that there's an ultimate source of all of this, and a grounding for all of the necessary components to engage with knowledge or ascertain knowledge, do reasoning, evaluation, actualize, animate our own will, right, in a direction. If the only alternative is autonomous, ground up, like you're saying, arise naturally, you need a third option to get out of this dilemma.
In love often primes women to degrade themselves. A woman is more likely to be pressured into sex, violent sex, unprotected sex, anal sex, threesomes, and abortions by a romantic partner rather than a casual partner. This is why pimps often employ the lover boy method as a coercion tactic to go.
Oh my gosh, it's so bad.
Women into unspeakable.
I actually can't even listen to her dumb head.
There are people who live virtue. To love is to will the good. And there are good people. There are bad people, but we need good people in order to keep the bad people in check. And I think, honestly, if we practice virtue and discipline as a society, we understand that.
I don't know why. I listen to Trent Horn, and I have this weird impulse to buy another Subaru. Trent thinks Christians adopting some forms of feminism is acceptable. This entire debate is two libs. Yeah, it's two feminists. They're two feminists.
That each of us is made in the image and likeness of God, then we can reach our full human flourishing, our full potential as human beings. And so what I want us to argue today is that the root of society, the foundation of society, I think there's oftentimes two errors here. Some will say that it is the individual, and others will say that it is it's just the country or the state. But I believe that the root of society is the family, because it is through the family that we get more people. But
well, it's a weird third option. I kind of get what he's saying, but he just basically said some people think the root of society is the individual and some people think it's the nation. And he said, I think it's the family. It's one and many. That's the fabric of reality, right? What makes up a group of people, what makes up a parish, what makes up a family is the individuals of the family and then the collective identity of the family. The one and the many and the multiplicity. They're together. It's weird. He just said the family. Okay, yeah, but that's the thing, dude. What's the family? Well, some people wonder, is the nation the individuals or is it the collective? And then he goes, I think it's the smaller microcosm of the thing called the family.
But I do think it's a baffling thing to see someone, and congrats, wanting to.
That's the thing. It's the church. If you were a Catholic, you should be like, no. Now, I understand if someone else said this, you'd have to be pressed further, right? So I'm trying to be charitable when he says, I think the foundation is the family. Well, no, it's actually the church. From a Christian perspective, the family is an extension of what? The family is not the source. That's more autonomy. Oh, the autonomous family. Some people even argue that the modern sense of the nuclear family is itself a type of modern symptom. Like the individual family, like, oh, I'm the individualism of the family.
Enter into marriage, but could speak about the idea of sex being grounded in love being no better than sex not being grounded in love. That's like 2 + 2 = 5 to me.
Oh gosh, Trent, come on, dude. All you have to do is be like, that's interesting you say that. How, without a Christian lens, could you determine whether a family or a couple is engaging in love or not?
That's just a wild thing. What I heard in that opening was really just like, I feel like, yes, there's bad things, but we could harden our hearts so that the bad things never hurt us, or live in virtue and face the bad things head on and choose to be good even in the midst of evil. It's better to suffer evil than to do evil. It's better to...
You're literally preaching to someone who doesn't believe in your paradigm, bruh.
Be human and humane to others, even if we might get hurt, than to be inhuman so that we don't get hurt. When we talk about feminism, I don't like the label feminism.
No wonder.
You know, it's been...
I know, because it means you're a feminist. You know, I don't really like the label of feminism, mostly because I'd be actually forced inside the category of a feminist, and I don't really like the label feminist, but I am, in fact, a feminist. But, you know.
Put in this idea of, like, marriage is bad, men are bad, kids are bad. I don't agree with any of that stuff. So I don't like the label feminism, but I do like the idea that Marie Scheer in 1986 said, feminism is the radical notion that women are people. Okay, I think women are people, men are people, treat each other like people. I don't see what's wrong with that.
Yeah, she's like a literal robot.
John Paul II, in his work, Gospel of Life, he said this: in transforming cultures that it supports life, women occupy a place in thought and action which is unique and decisive. It depends on them to promote a new feminism, which rejects the temptation of imitating models of male domination in order to acknowledge and affirm the true genius of women in every aspect of the life of society and overcome all discrimination, violence, and exploitation. So I think we agree violence and exploitation is bad. I agree all the things you listed were really bad. I think we're going to disagree.
What? Violence isn't always bad, and neither is exploitation. If exploitation simply means to harness, no, it's not always bad. What are you talking about, son? What you talking about? Icky things. Discomfort is bad. Things that are necessarily need to be done, if it's icky, it's bad, right? What are you talking about? Hey, Trent, there was a dude who was at my parish who was a Pentecostal, and he had a big old thick Bible, and at the beginning of liturgy, he literally interrupted the entire liturgy and screamed. He screamed, echoing in the entire building, I have a message from God! Now, listen. He was threatened with force to leave. Is that icky, Trent? Is that icky, Trent? Yeah, violence is so 8th century. I mean, we are beyond this now.
On the answer to that, I think the answer is virtue and people willing to take the risk to do good and getting married, having children, promoting a virtuous life. Well worthwhile and can be done. And I think many other things, pornography, abortion, premarital sex, sexual disorders, that inhibits one's ability to be sexually virtuous. I want people not just to have the bare minimum sexual morality, virtue, doing that which is good. Virtue comes from vir, manly, men to be men, so that women can trust them. I think bad men crave feminism. Good men are the answer to feminism.
Oh my God. You're a feminist, dude. Now, Farah, or whatever her name is, she's not smart enough or good enough to debate her, but she could actually wreck him. If she actually learned from, like, Andrew and some of the other people who argue constantly against the sewing circle Christians, these types, if she learned that, she could adopt it and completely destroy him, because the reason he's protecting himself out the gates by saying, I don't like the term feminism. Yeah, you know why? Because your opponent here, if she was smart enough, it's not looking promising, she could just use that against you and demonstrate that from your standard, you're also a feminist.
That's my opening.
Okay. Was there anything else in Farah's opening statement that you wanted to respond to? Because she did lay out quite a few feminist positions there. So,
well, before he does that, what I could say is, like, kind of like I said in my last paragraph,
that's a pencil holder, it's a pencil holder, it's a pencil holder, it's a pencil holder.
Point of all these examples isn't to say you shouldn't get married.
Don't look at her boobs. Don't look at her boobs. Don't look at her boobs. Don't look at her
Or
boobs.
to black pill women on marriage, right? Like, obviously I'm engaged. I was just trying to
There's a butt on her chest. There's a butt on her chest. There's a butt on her chest.
challenge the notion that just because you're sexualizing yourself through a medium of love, that it necessarily means that
God logic gets destroyed. I don't care. God logic's not orthodox.
it's more respectful than sexualizing yourself the way I do through something like OnlyFans. Because usually the rebuttal I hear is that the reason it's more degrading, dehumanizing, and demeaning for me to perhaps like strip off on my OnlyFans than do it for someone who I'm dating or married to is because it's more dehumanizing, degrading. Those men don't respect me versus your husband respects you, all these things. And I was saying that sentiment of respect.
Oh, he's a feminist. Yeah, you can see it. You'll see it here tonight. You'll see it. He already came out like trying to not categorize himself in there. That was defense. It was like, I don't like feminism. You know why? Because if you took the going debate definition of anything that works against the patriarchy as feminist, because that's, when it comes down to it, that's what it would be. That's the real description. Anything that argues against the patriarchy itself would be feminist.
It doesn't always cash out in the actual realities and statistics that we see. So it's more to challenge the idea that
is
doing
sad.
it privately is respectful and then doing it publicly is inherently degrading.
Inherently degrading. Why do you all talk like this?
So it wasn't to just bash one or say, do this over this, you know?
I mean, well, I agree with you that
Be more.
there are evil situations in marriage, and there are people who have...
Not from an atheist. Why are you agreeing with that? What the hell are you doing, Trent? You're giving the entire debate away. You don't grant that. I agree with you that, you know, we can both agree that there's evil inside of marriages and outside of marriage. No, you don't grant her evil, bro.
Trent Horn versus Vagene.
Whoa.
My brain has become poo-poo.
It is literally, yeah. Vagine debating. Vagine, I didn't know you were...
of platonic and virtuous relationships outside of marriage.
There's no reflection on the glasses.
But I think where you and I are going to disagree, you mentioned like sexualized through love or sexualized through, I guess, commerce or something like that, through something like OnlyFans. I think you and I fundamentally disagree, though, about, like, I would never say that in my marriage I sexualize myself for my wife.
What?
What I would say...
I wasn't expecting that sentence from him.
Is, and the question...
I would probably argue you don't. I would argue that maybe your wife doesn't get the vibe of that's a sexual being. I wouldn't say that when I'm walking around in my house with my yellow robe that my wife would be like, No, yeah, I kind of agree with you. It's probably the opposite. It's like Ben Shapiro. Well, it doesn't really matter if my wife's body doesn't respond biologically to me sexually. It doesn't matter. There are other things. That is what the market is for. There are plenty of products and things that you can use in place of the absence of the necessary, biological components for sex to coitus, for coitus.
The question I would ask you would be, what is sex for? And so for me, I believe the answer written into our very being is this: sex is for the expression of marital love. So that leads to what is marital love. I would say that, and that gets us to a more fundamental thing. What is love? Baby, don't hurt me no more, no more. Love is when you will the good for...
Rest them. Look at Farah's like, that was the joke. That was the joke of the night. He did it. He did the joke. He did the thing.
For another, but I like one definition of love being this: love always seeks, not definition, but it's commonality. Love seeks union with the beloved. Like, I love going to In-N-Out when I'm out here. I have union with the burger. If you love a...
You have union with the burger? You have union with the burger? This is why the essence energy distinction is so important.
A friend to spend time with him.
I am union with the burger. I have union with the burger. What?
Marital love is a very unique kind of union. It's a bodily union.
So I want to animate it as a date.
In marriage, husband and wife fully give themselves to one another, mind, body, heart, and soul. They give themselves to each other, and free and unreserved, in bonds that say, I am yours till death do us part. It's that complete gift of self, a union, nothing like it.
Yeah, it's so, everything about it is so bad. It's just bad. You have union with the burger. Look, there's no sacrifice of exchange between you and a burger. The burger, like, it's like you could maybe say that about maybe an animal that you hunted. Like, maybe. He said onion, not union. He said onion with the burger.
And what's neat about it is that
what's
the man
neat?
and woman...
Did you say neat? Filioque Flanders. Did you say neat? What's neato about it?
Complete on their own. When they come together, that union, and it's a real union, can produce something greater than them. It has the capability of producing a new person with an immortal soul. That's crazy that God entrusted us with that. And so that child becomes a sign of their gift to each other. And so sex is a way of expressing that when husbands and wives fully give themselves to one another. It's it's the greatest love on earth, and I want more people to experience that. And things like the General Social Survey
here's what you want,
statistically
bro.
show that married people are on average happier than unmarried people. There's going to be cases like ones you cited, but there's also cases of unmarried people who are more likely to be abused because they're in tenuous relationships. There's lots. For example, I take abortion. 87% of abortions are obtained by unmarried women. So you're much more comfortable, secure feeling with the child if you're pregnant, if you're married, than if you're unmarried.
But also 80% of abortions were procured by women who conceived the fetus while in a relationship with the father. So why not just draw the...
What do you mean relationship? Look, everything's a relationship. This is such a cope. Like, this is another lie told by women. Or not, two women, I should say. Two women that they now tell themselves, and men are in on it, by the way. They don't go free on this. And here's the lie. The lie is that you can have sex with anyone without a relationship. No, your relationship is that you have sex with them. That is the basis of your relationship. That is it, right there. That's the relationship. It's sexual. There's no non-relation relation. So the lie that's been told by feminism and now by feminists is there's this fiction, complete fiction, that you can go out in the world and have sex with strangers and you're safe because it's not a relationship. No, that's a type of relationship. They're like, no, it's not. No, it's not. They're just a robot. They're no different than a robot. Nope, they're people in the world. That affects you. That affects them. That affects the future. That could come up later in many different ways. There's all sorts of stuff that's still connected there. And that's the thing is, like, from a Christian paradigm, all of your relationships through the lens of the church. Now, we're not always good at it, but like, if you viewed all your relationships through the lens of the church, you'd be able to constantly properly categorize what the relationship is. You wouldn't lie about it. You couldn't possibly, from a Christian lens, come up with a coherent category of relationship that's purely sexual. It's impossible. You couldn't do it. But it's still true for the atheist here. There's no such thing as a non-relationship relationship. The end goal, the burgerific vision. A bit rich, Farah complaining about prawn, considering she contributed to the problem and she doesn't care. Yeah, they don't care about the ramifications. And maybe some of them actually come around and they become the counter, right? Similar to like the evangelicals who quit their church but become counter ministers. Same thing here. You see the phenomenon, right? Same phenomenon. Tucker, what do you make of the 8th Catholic Sacrament union with the burger? Well, I mean, I totally understand everything. That first bite, it really feels like a union with the burger. especially if it's like elk meat. It's like it only enhances like the juiciness of it, knowing that it was your arrow that pierced through the heart.
The line at casual versus in a relationship, and then I can just as easily deduce,
Why do you
okay,
think,
therefore casual sex
why
is
do you
better because
think,
you're less likely as a woman to be coerced into unprotected sex, because it's actually easier for you to like lay out a boundary to someone who you don't have to necessarily see a week later. It's harder to do that to a boyfriend or husband, right? So you're kind of choosing where to draw the distinction when I can just as easily draw it at casual.
That's such a stupid argument. Basically, she's arguing for very weak, superficial relationships. Are we not at the peak? I would say actually not the peak, the valley, the deepest valley. Are we not at the deepest valley of the result of living with superficial, purely sexual relationships? Are we not finally at the bottom of the barrel here, lady? Do you not see the problem with living a life in pursuit of non-connective relationships that are meaningless, that don't flourish, expand, enrich over time? For instance, if you take the circle visual for a marriage, Christ is in the middle. Your participation in the church is the circle all around that, right? But you're constantly going toward the middle. No matter where you are on the circle, as a wife and a husband, if both the wife and the husband go closer to the circle, they get closer together as a result. For a secular view, what could possibly be at the center of that circle to replace Christ in that visual analogy? There actually isn't. There's nothing. What is it? Seriously, I'm trying to understand. Try to put on their hat for a second, guys. In the circle visual, what could possibly, from the secular view, be the dot in the middle that we're drawn closer to by getting closer to it? What could it a hamburger? Maybe it's a hamburger. This is it. This is actually their answer. Which shows in, like, it's so brutal when you put it visually like that, because it's them. That's the answer, Nate. For them, it's the self. It's themselves. And that's what we're seeing. Oh, I drew closer to myself and I learned so much about myself and I put more stuff around myself. And you know what happens? You know what happens? You meet someone, and if it's not through the lens of the church and not through the lens of Christian metaphysics and Christian sacraments, if it's not through that lens, you're examining your potential partner through the lens of how much they let you do what you want to do and how much you're going to let them do what they want to do for a future that's conditional on those overlapping values. And then those things change. For Christians, if your preferences changed inside of a Christian marriage, that wouldn't change your ultimate dedication to the marriage. We're still reflecting the church and that being the core of what the marriage is. But under the secular view, a marriage is a legal agreement until preferences don't match up. It's an agreement based on the current preferences, and then an agreement to leave if the preferences change. That's all it is. It's a marriage to yourself. That's all it is. It's a marriage to someone who kind of mimics you preference-wise until they don't.
Casual versus non-casual.
No, I wouldn't put it in that way, because when someone's in a relationship,
close to myself.
they're gonna be having
That's pretty
sex
much what they say.
more, so it makes more sense when you do become pregnant. It's going to be in the context of a relationship where people are not having
is in the middle.
tons and tons of casual sex. Most people,
say like ending climate change is in the middle.
People, they might have a few flings here or there,
it's
but
purely
most people who
transactional,
have sex outside of marriage, the number of encounters, it's just easier. Well, especially for men, to have sex in a relationship versus just casual, or I'd say like with a stranger or something like that. So I think though it's clear in the statistics to drop down that when you are married, you really have a stable connection to that other person that other people recognize.
Jay Dyer got cooked by Muslim lantern. Nobody ever got cooked by Muslim lantern ever. It's never happened. Muslim lantern he's definitely the product of two cousins, 100%. He even has that small pea head looking head, right? Now you're trolling. Now we know you're trolling. If that were true, you could tell me exactly what the particular topic, subject, and specific argument that he cooked. No, Muslim lantern is an absolute joke. One of the silliest, and that says a lot. One of the silliest of Muslim apologists. You missed my other super chat, but I found the timestamp where Brian brings up Jadar. Yeah, I'll skip to that in a bit. Thank you for that. 317.
Recognize there is
thank you, Sandbox.
In law, in society, in culture, and it really does change the relationship. It makes it something more stable. I'm excited for that for your relationship with your beau. So.
Ugh.
And I would encourage that for people that has been historically throughout history a way to provide stability when marriage breaks down.
This makes people like, people always say the sort of hard, aggressive ortho bro approach might sway people away and turned off by it, but it's like purely by tone or whatever. And I can understand that someone, wherever they are, that might be their first reaction. But if they look deeper, they'll see that there's a reason to be so fiercely in defense of orthodoxy. But if they don't, whatever, it might take time. But with this, it's like, I see it the other way around. I see his approach to her as so womanly. It's not corrective. It's not masculine. It's not leading. It's like, I really wish the best for you and your hubby bubby. And I really think that, and it's like, if women are looking for masculine leaders and they think maybe Christianity, maybe there's some dudes in Christianity that could fulfill that role and they could, finally justify the term submission, finally, to see submission as a powerful thing. And by the way, that's not a peculiar state for women. Men also submit. But this is the worst. This guy would be the worst. I'd be running. If I was just superficially on the outset, like investigating Christianity and their arguments and stuff, and Trent Horn is their rep, I'd be like, that is just weak. I know female mechanics who are more masculine in their leadership than Trent Horn. $5 gifted memberships. Thank you. Thank you. American Nacho says, be more. These people love opponents like Trent because they have no offense. Yeah, they had no offense, no aggression. They just sit like little cowards and let themselves be interrogated. Yeah. I'm here to answer your questions. I'm really want to understand your view. I'm really open to it. J Bob out here struggling not to call Trent a British cigarette. I know. It's just I'm trying to work on my TOS, okay? Trying to work on it. I have never seen it, but I can only assume that Trent has horns, lower body as a goat. I could see him with little hooves walking around.
We get a lot of other problems.
Carrying people's purses.
So you think sex should always be inside marriage and that it should be ordered towards what?
I think sex is for expressing that kind of love, that I give myself to you and only you for the rest of my life. So not that it should be, that's just what it's for. It's for.
He just said that, and I just imagine him literally being held by his wife. Like he jumped up. Or even better, he ran. Can you guys see this? He ran, like if someone could remake Dirty Dancing, where Baby runs and gets lifted, I could see him doing a lift. I give myself to you and only you. And he just runs, and They do the spin around. Is this bipartisan debate featuring two feminists? Absolutely. Kind of defeats the purpose of a debate. Absolutely. There should have been a third, honestly. That's juicy, because if you had Andrew or Jay in here, it wouldn't turn into a theological debate necessarily, you know, but they would show that a split between this guy and someone who's actually not a feminist. It would show the split. He would never agree to that, though.
For expressing.
If a Roman Catholic appeals to Trent as a source, would they be tooting their own horn? Reziel, I swear that was more of a Wicked Wally joke, but I appreciate that you're trying to take his spot, Reziel. Really appreciate the $5. Watching this debate is like watching impotence versus ignorance personified. By the way, Jim Bob, really appreciate the streams. You're welcome. Thank you so much for your support. It's rough. It does make me want unity with a cheeseburger, though. That sounds so good. I like truffle burgers. Does that make me, is that flamboyant?
Marital love. Only you, all of me to you, just you, till death do us part.
Ooh.
So that's what it's for. And it's ordered when it's put to that way. When it's used in other contexts, like outside of marriage, then things get really disordered for people. That's why, a lot of casual sex is really awkward later, because you speak with your bodies. Hey, the body is going to, it's written into our being. So the body says what it says, that I fully give myself to you. But in casual sex or even in relationships, you can walk away anytime you want. There's no paperwork to file. There's nothing you have to do. So there's an awkwardness there of you fully gave yourself to someone you're not actually like bonded to.
Yeah, this is all still the same language. Now, there might be a truth to that, like developing no strong bonds and giving away, especially from a female view, giving away your body to a man. You're basically trying to argue in your head that there's no transaction happening. Like as if women are trying to argue that they don't want to be objectified, but the only avenue they have for leverage is to objectify themselves. Feminism is producing women who argue against the sexual objectification of their body, but their only leverage tool is objectifying their own body. They're trying to reject the idea that men, like dogs, need to wait. That they're challenged through the woman to wait. But the problem is like, it goes both ways. Now there's a pool of women who aren't protecting their body and their virginity to save it, such that it's worth telling the man to wait. Wait for what? Wait for a 100-person body count body? That, by the way, like even without impregnation, takes on, at least the recent sciences say, takes on the DNA of all their previous partners. Like, what are we waiting? What is the man like? This is the red pill aspect that I could sympathize with. What is it? What are these good, virtuous men who want to marry young? What are they being so proper for? Why are they being so Christian about it? Right? What do they get in response? What? They have to wait till the girl is no longer in her whore phase to get the wife? This is what men are waiting for? Yeah, you just have to wait for me to completely ruin my body and all of my ability to make and form meaningful relationships through sex and intimacy. Once that's gone, you essentially could have basically a blow-up doll that talks and needs food. Does that sound good, guys? Let me liberate myself. You can't objectify me if I do it first. Exactly. What dog breed was named after a zoo with no animals? A Tsutshu. A Tsutshu. Is it a Shih Tzu? Contrarian, $10. Take my dirty materialist goods. Thanks for the content. Also, just so you can put a face to the username, I'm the first guy who was on Heel Tony. Oh, awesome. That's always fun to see. Like, oh, you! I know your name.
In the cultural setting related to that.
But even in marriage, like there are certain conditions that you think are like morally required when you're having sex with your husband or wife. So what are those?
Yeah, well, I just think that, I mean, I'm certainly against things like marital rape, for example. So, like, when you say there about, like, husbands raping their wives, I mean, sorry, Brian, husbands essaying their wives. Yeah, so, like, when it comes to things like feminism, like, I don't use the word feminist to describe my...
Can moral relativists still hold normative ethics? Well, there's nothing... if you're talking about what makes something normative is just an agreement... all they're really doing is saying anyone agrees with me, that's ends up, what makes it normative. They couldn't argue against the alternative in any meaningful way. That's why when we argue against secularism versus Christian ethics insofar as applying it to society through law, through force, we argue that the secularist actually has no way to push against another secularist who adopts the Christian ethical system. Doesn't believe any of it, though. Just adopts it. Same thing with this. You can't hold to another relativist that their normative practice is peculiar to a relativist. They can't, there's no standard. So what's normative if there's no real standard at all? That's a meaningless term.
Myself, there's a lot of baggage with that. But I am not going to say, like, people who argued under feminism
he's
were
a feminist.
wrong, like, about everything. It's kind of like the civil rights movement.
Listen to what he just said. I'm not going to argue. Like, this is always the tactic. Well, I really like first wave feminism. That's when it was based. No, it wasn't. It was never based. No, I mean, but they had good ideas. Same thing with civil rights. Really? I can't wait to hear this.
Like, I agree with Martin Luther King Jr.
Why? You agree with a disgusting CIA-controlled plant? All of his speeches were written not by him?
Cool it with the anti-Semitic remarks.
I agree with him.
That black people should have a right to vote.
Why? It's not even a racial thing. Why? Why would white people have the right to vote? What are you talking about? I think black people should have the right to vote. I'm sorry, Trent. Why should white people have the right to vote?
I just disagree with him about communism. And I think that he was crummy for getting in marital infidelity and that kind of stuff. But, like, bad people...
Oh, what a crummy little man. Ugh, crummy. Just stop it, dude. I would love to get this guy just shit-faced, just to get him to actually act like a normal person. I mean, he's like Ned Flanders. It's like, there's no way this is real. Oh, shoot-see. I spilt the milk-see. Oh, poopy pants. Ugh. Oh, I'm so sorry. I spilled a little soda. He's the guy who tracks down someone who's a cleaner at like a carnival. If he spilled some mustard from his pretzel, he like tracks someone down. Right, it's over there. It's right back there. I did it. I am so sorry.
People can be right about some things.
You're a crummy bum.
So, like, yeah.
I think, George, I don't know. I think Dahmer is just crummy. It's just crummy. It's gosh darn, downright crummy what he was doing. Martin Luther King, not single-handedly, subverted the entire ideology of black Americans at the time to gear themselves towards their own demise. You thought what he was crummy, the crummy part, Trent, is that he bought prostitutes? No, that was the norm for him. That's the crummy part? Unbelievable.
I would say civil rights movement, yeah, we need to, blacks should have the right to vote, should be treated equally in society, but I wouldn't necessarily move all the way towards DEI or weird anti-racism philosophies, things like that. Similar with feminism, I would agree, like, I think it's good if there are laws to say that, well, there was that famous case, the Rideau case. There was a made-for-TV movie made about it back in the 80s, I think, with Linda Hamilton. She was in Terminator. Drawn a blank, that's fine. That was one of the first cases where where a husband was put on trial for marital rape, and then he was found not guilty. They were married but separated, and then he rapes her, and then he's found not guilty, and in the trial they're like, well, that's just maybe that's a risk in marriage.
So it's just everything about it. You're like, leave. Hey guys, I'm here for cigar and poker night. Isn't that neat? I was feeling crummy before, but I showed up anyway. No. You're not invited.
I'm like, that's crazy.
Metaphysics Mike put a video on you. Yeah. I mean, Unitarianism is so broken.
Crazy. So no, I agree that nobody should be essaying anybody. Where I might disagree is if somebody has a crazy hypercritical definition of consent, where you over define something. But at the base level, nobody should be essaying anybody. And I think
Freeze frame all-star. It's a pencil holder, it's a pencil holder, it's a pencil holder, it's a butt crack, it's a butt crack, it's a baby butt crack, it's a pencil holder. Those aren't boobies, those aren't boobies, those aren't boobies, those aren't boobies. I'm not looking, I'm not looking, I'm not looking, I'm not looking, I'm not looking.
It's bad if it happens in marriage, sure. But I think marriage is a protection against that. Because when you say oh, it happens the most in marriage, I mean, there's no way you could back that up with criminal statistics.
In my land, we don't kill cow, but we come to your land to have union with burger.
The union with burger, Trent Horn, Council of Union with Burger.
When we look at the FBI data of who is the victim of SA and who isn't.
You disagree with the statistic that your husband's the man in your life most likely to rape you? You think that's...
No, I mean, statistically, what else would it be? It's you're not saying anything, Farah. Now, Trent Horn is too dumb to just untangle this. If it was Andrew or someone else up there, they'd be like, yeah, that makes sense. You know why? Because men are stronger. So it wouldn't happen the other way. It would be less likely for it to happen the other way, right? Unless you're in a lesbian relationship. There's always a stronger one, right? Now, even in that instance, it's a woman doing it, but it's a woman who's closer to the category of a man in the relation. So it's not, it's like saying, did you know that most physical assaults and violent assaults and robberies are done by people who are capable of doing that? Wow, Farah, you're a genius.
I'm talking about the number of essays. I don't know. I'm just going to keep saying it to help Brian out here. No, you're fine. Okay, fine. Then the number of rapes. At least we're not saying grape. That'd be the worst. No, the number of grapes. I'm saying
grapes.
We could look up the number of rapes and see what is the relationship, between the partners. I think in many cases we're going to have people who are acquaintances, people who know each other, but the minority are going to be people who are in a married relationship versus just being boyfriend, girlfriend, or casual dating or casual. Most of them seem to be
It's just a stupid argument, dude. Trent, all you have to say is, yes, most violent crimes are done by people capable of committing violence, right? Yeah, that makes sense. Most of this particular definition of an aggression, men against women, it is going to be the man. Why? Because the man, especially for a grape cereal, the man is the one doing the penetrating. The woman has the walls, right? The woman is on defense. That's definitionally what it is. You know what would need to be the case for a woman to do that? First of all, you'd have to find a man who is wherever they are in their life, against the idea of it. Now, if it was Amy Schumer or something, yeah, you can imagine a man being like, no, please don't do this to me. But the problem is it's logistics that makes that true. It's not anything. She's not making any argument. We found that most bank robbers are seen in cars shortly before the robbery. We're linking it to cars. Exactly. Yep. It's so stupid.
Casual hookups and things like that. Just the numbers.
Yeah, it's this. It's that. Yeah.
The relation. We have the suspect
Totally.
and we have the victim. The relationship between suspect and victim. The majority of those are going to be they're not married.
Mm-hmm. Other than it being consensual, are there other forms of marital sex you would say are disordered? If they're using
No one should grape people. Wow, thanks, dude. It's incredibly insightful. Can't wait to hear your next sentence. Thank you.
Contraception or anything.
I read a book on it, actually. Stop things I don't like.
Anything like that, or like what else?
Yeah, well, I would say, especially as a Catholic, I believe that in marriage, the goal is to...
Women are aggressive. Yeah, women can be aggressive, but that's not what's in question. The question isn't whether or not women and men can express their horniness. The question is the act of taking over someone's body by force obviously is going to be statistically higher for men doing it, but that's still true in jail for men doing it against men anyway. So, you know what I'm saying? It doesn't say anything. It doesn't. It's just saying who's stronger, which is funny because that's the argument against feminism. It is a part of the argument against feminism is the fact that men are stronger.
To fully give yourself to your spouse and to not hold anything back when you do that. And contraception is a way of doing that. And also contraception is a way of communicating a kind of like anti-life attitude to a child you might conceive. Mm-hmm. It's like telling God, it's like telling that future kid, hey, we really want to come together. If you show up, we're going to be really mad. We don't want you here. You know, and that's not an attitude that I want.
Is that your best argument? No, dude. Trent Horn, man. How did he get to where he is? How did this happen? So frustrating. No, the critique is, what's the advantage to society to have a bunch of people given the opportunity to have all the sex they want without building anything, without any responsibility, without any result? They should just abort it, right? They can just do that. That's the argument here. We're talking about a meta level argument. Trent's like, yeah, I mean, when you have sex, it's like, aren't you telling the baby that doesn't exist? Isn't it like an attitude, like that you just don't want the baby? Yeah, they don't care, Trent. Did you notice they don't care? Did you notice they go to the extent of even killing the baby up to 9 months, Trent? Yeah, it's a general attitude against having a baby, Trent. And I feel like there's just this attitude against having babies and against marriage. You know? It's just this...
want to communicate to...
And it's like, that's what you're communicating. I mean, think about that.
My future child. So yeah, I would be against contraception. I would say that, yeah, you should engage in the sexual act that's ordered towards creating that child, not other kinds of things.
Dude, you got no offense, man. You're the worst. You got no offense. You can't push back against anything, Trent. You're just calmly trying to answer good questions in a calm way and hoping that wins people over. You're not, you can't, I bet you can't even kill a fly in your own house, dude. Honey, there's a fly. Can you get the fly, honey? Oh, Trent, okay. It's so cute, Trent, that you can't kill anything in the house. I actually like that about you. Yeah. We're just finding this out now, Trevor. I'm just so glad that we have him to sort of summarize what's going on here.
People might do, whether it's like sodomy or things like that. But fine, I mean, there's the things that you shouldn't do. I also think, though, in married love, Pope John Paul II talked about this in a book called Love and Responsibility, where he says that it's the husband's responsibility to make sure not just that he finds pleasure in the marital act, but that his wife also does, reaching
moral
both partners, reaching
responsibility.
climax, ideally even simultaneously, so they can be fully gifted to one another. So there's bare minimum of consent, don't do things that are disordered,
dog or husband,
but also it should be pleasurable for both.
Yeah, I was just trying to get at animal cruelty. If you were to zero...
Can you put the link in the description for this video? I want to check it out. Yeah, I'll do it.
About animal cruelty.
Iron Charioteer? I haven't seen you in a while.
Somehow.
I agree that peanut butter can really get stuck in a dog's mouth, so that can be hard. We'll try jam, strawberry jam.
Wah, wah, wah. Does a pencil holder, that's 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 a butt, that's a butt, that's a butt on a chest, that's a butt on a chest. I'm not looking at the crack, I'm not looking at the crack in your boobs. I'm not looking at the crack in your boobs. I'm making a joke. I'm not making a peanut butter joke and jelly joke without looking at the crack in your boobs. Those aren't boobs, those aren't boobs, those aren't boobs, those aren't boobs, those. What are you doing, dude? What a weirdo, dude. You should be locked up. Forget debates, man. Can we just do this already? What the hell is he talking about, bro? What are you talking about?
Animal cruelty. If you were to like zero out animal cruelty somehow.
I agree that peanut butter can really get stuck in a dog's mouth, so that can be hard. We'll try jam, strawberry jam.
Can anyone help me, please? Is this like a psyop? Is this like a is this like one of those military attacks? Don't worry, Bob. He gets her to admit that it's preferable to do weird stuff to a dog in this debate. Well, at least at least there's some promise then. Speaking of promise, 9 minutes, 4 left, y'all. Reach the goal.
I would say, like, it'd be better for a woman to do the dog thing than, for instance, have sex with her husband who beats her, yeah.
Wait, what? Wait, what? Wait a second. What? Are we talking what I think we're talking about here? Are we? Is she saying what I think? Is this real? Is this real? Are we talking? Wait a second. Oh, man. Lord of mercy.
Okay, so you think it'd be better if she's like, oh man, nobody.
Even though one's more disordered,
like Scooby. Like, let's get out of here.
I think the better thing for me is the one which is more congruent with her, like, self-actualization in which she's not being demeaned, beaten, abused. Yeah, obviously it's more disordered, and maybe like we would think that's very antisocial of her.
So you think it's better for a woman to engage in bestiality than to have sex with a crummy guy?
With a what?
A crummy guy, a mean guy.
Crummy.
It's better to have sex with a nice dog than a mean man.
I don't know about the sex stuff.
Okay, fine. Not intercourse, to engage in. Well, fine.
Fine. Let's go with the peanut butter thing. That's a cliche.
Which is worse? A mean man performs cunnilingus on her, or the nice dog?
Did you say cunnilingus, Trent? Did you say cunning?
If there was like a reality in which you can run like tests, like I'm vegan, right? So I'm very pro like considering animals.
You just don't
what
eat
they
them,
want
but
and
like
stuff. Yeah, but I'm saying that like if you could somehow actually test the animals' like desires and like push the levers that they could consent and all those types of things, right? Then like I have no issue saying that like it'd be more
that like let her bomb, dude.
Disordered because it's atypical. It'd be more antisocial. It'd be more like maybe it could be a proxy for other mental illnesses, right? But I would say that it's worse for her to have sex.
Let me ask you this.
With the man who beats her, assuming she doesn't want to be,
Okay, wait a second. I mean, I got to give him credit here. He just got her to say it's better for a woman to perform bestiality than to sleep with a man who occasionally punches her.
Okay. Isn't engaging in some sort of like
cunning linguist.
Yeah, some type of thing.
Okay.
Like consensual.
No, because I can let's run down this disturbing road more, because this is where I have the big problem with very minimal. I mean, you put self-actualization here, but I worry that word doesn't really do any.
I'm self-actualizing with Rex. What are you doing in there, Cynthia? I'm self-actualizing.
Work beyond consent. you say, oh, well, it's antisocial to have a dog, working on you or something like that down yonder. Is it okay to play? It's okay to go to the beach. If we went down to the beach here, Santa Barbara, play frisbee.
Frisbee, not a crummy frisbee, not a crummy day, a good day, a beachy day.
Frisbee.
Let's just say we play frisbee, and I'm not one for rough sports. So, OF girls being able to give public opinions, arguments proves the downfall. Yeah, I agree with that. Now it's like a give and take though. You showcase where we are. You put a spotlight on it, but also it's like the spokespeople for the opposite view. It's like it's crazy. It's like, did you hear what this girl said? It's like in the news. You're like, who's the girl? Oh, she's just like the leading, porn chick currently or whatever. You're like, why is she talking? What do you mean? What are we doing? Like, I thought it was too much just having Ayn Rand on the stage, I thought that was already crossing the line for sure.
That's a fun thing to do, right?
Mm-hmm.
Let's say I brought my dog and I'm like, hey guys, he's super good at this. I'm going to work on frisbee with my dog. Like, that's not an antisocial thing for me to play frisbee with my dog.
Right.
So
right.
why would it be antisocial to do sexual pleasure with a dog? If you do it with other people and
yeah, if the dog's wagging its tail, Farah, what if the dog's wagging its tail?
Every now and then, Fido gets a treat.
Ew, dude, I don't like how he's talking about this. I don't like how specific he is with this speaking. Fido gets a treat? What? How are you adequately bringing up a pretty good argument against Farah, but you're the gross? How are you the gross one here, Trent? How did you do this? Listen, Fido gets a little treaty treat. Tongue can. What? Like, stop!
I mean, for me, it's just patently obvious. It's because sex is for people, and we know it's for people because of the procreative end. When you take that away, you get all of this.
Two more, y'all. 3 minutes.
If the issue
One
for
more.
you for why it's wrong to have sex with a dog has...
Of course, the wicked smut peddler actively participating in the destruction of society as a vegan because she's a good person. Yeah. Cow is better than humans. Of course.
Cruelty. It's simply because you're saying sex is designed for two people to engage with, so they just get rid of the...
Look at Brian. He's like, what happened here? Didn't know we'd go so quickly to the dog. But here we are. Here we go.
The dog in general, because it has nothing to do with animal
because
cruelty.
What you're trying to...
Fido gets a treat. Fido gets a treat.
And then focus on the masturbation, because the dog is good shock value, but if the issue is just that sex is designed for two people,
Brian,
why not just keep it between masturbation? Like, why not just have it be masturbation? Because the animals' desires are irrelevant to you in the moral equation, so just have it be masturbation versus whatever type of sex with a crummy guy.
The reason I have to do that is because masturbation is very common, okay?
Wait, no, no, dude, she's gonna wreck you now. Uh-oh. Oh, no. Oh, no, dude. Bad move, Trent. Bad move.
Okay, it's just a lot of the people
But in
watching...
your view, it's as disordered as bestiality, because the only reason, by your view, bestiality is morally disordered is because sex is designed for two people, ideally in marriage and ordered towards procreation. The animal cruelty is irrelevant to you.
No, because it's not about animal cruelty.
It's that sex is designed for husband and wife.
Can I finish?
Yeah.
Can I finish, please? Because I have constructed an example where it can't be cruel because the animal isn't suffering any harm or pain or anything like that, any more than if you let him lick the jam out of the jar.
Yeah.
Or...
Oh, can you stop, dude? Like, maybe I just don't like the way he talks.
Lick, if the jam,
just stop saying lick. Stop it, Trent. We get what we're talking about. You don't have to, stop it.
Like spilled on your leg. You're having dinner and,
spilled on your leg.
That's the trope with
Please stop. Please.
The dog, right? The food falls from the table, dog comes and eats it. Dang it, I dropped the jam on my foot. Fido, and he comes over and licks the jam off your foot.
Who's Fido? Why is there a Fido?
Nobody cares. That's not cruelty. But I'm taking this example because it shocks people. Like,
what if the jam was higher up? I love pausing and looking at Brian's blank expression of disbelief sometimes. Help me keep my eyes. Yeah. This one's rough.
Like, whoa, that's bad. That's gross.
Yeah.
That's
way
gross.
Way worse
because
than
they
Michael
live in a
Knowles.
culture that has brainwashed
Similar
them
though,
to
right?
say, oh yeah, it's fine.
Like it's like very similarly, like a little too oakley dokley. Okay. You need a little masculinity. You need a little bit of edge spilling off. You need a little bit of rough around the edges. You know. You need what's equivalent of the aesthetic F-bomb. You got to knock something over. You got to leave that's, you got something on your jacket. Like this much. This much, okay? Oh, you got something there. Oh. And then the wife comes over and goes, what? That's not how you clean it. And they go like this to your chest. Like you just, like okay, yeah. No, these guys, the Knowles and these guys, they're like, sorry. Can we stop the interview quick? I gotta do you have stain remover? I usually carry the stick in my inner pocket, but I just don't, not today. Not today. I'm like, stop, dude. You're supposed to just kind of spill it. It's the crumbs. The woman gets the crumbs out of your beard. Oh, she takes care of you. Like, oh, stop this mess. You're a mess, honey. I know I'm a mess. I know that. He came up with this and presented it almost without prompting. What the heck is going on in his mind? I'm really glad lunch was 2 hours ago. Shout out to Fido. I bet there are some sheep missing in his neck of the woods. Oh, man. Fido goes west. What's going on in this debate? Are they seriously discussing the variables dissecting bestiality? Yeah, I know. The thing is, you could use this, like, right? We bring up the cadaver diddling. We can bring up the two dudes, the two brothers getting married. We can bring up bestiality. It's just this. It's the way he talks about it. Where somehow you're somehow, I don't know why. It sounds like he's losing the way he talks about it for some reason. And she's supposed to be the one horrified. We're horrified by Trent for some reason. It's the right angle of attack, though. It's like the right topic of attack. But how did he lose it? I just stopped watching this debate. Trent has a free logic trap kill shot, and he somehow always ends up barely going. Yeah, it's so... He never does. She's literally giving him those big sensitive balloons, the ones that are cheap and pop too easily. And he's just like dodging them. He's like Neo. There's defeaters, and that all he needs to do is hit them. And he just doesn't. Does anyone remember the Daily Wire drinking game where they would move the glass back and forth and the rules made 0 sense? Is that like this debate, Tengu? Altervoid, another 10. This is what happens when a fairy like Trent has been watching too much Andrew tone police him. Yeah, can be edgy. Yeah. I can be edgy and show how it can be done. Yeah, exactly. Like he knows what has to happen in the debates, but he doesn't want to be like the other guys. Well, I don't want to be like Jay or Andrew or any of the meanie pantses. I can't believe how they act. And it's like, you still can't destroy her position.
And masturbation is fine. Sodomy is fine. These things are fine. And so now I have to say, look, if you take that thinking as to why you think it's fine, you got to accept all these other things. Because I gave the other example. I don't know if I mentioned I think before the show, but it doesn't have to even just be a living animal. What about people who use roadkill as a masturbatory aid? So
And look at, he's like, so creative, Trent.
You're having dinner, and that's the trope with the dog, right? The food falls from the table, dog comes and eats it. Dang it, I dropped the jam on my foot.
It's uncomfortable.
Fido, and he comes over and licks the jam off your foot. Nobody cares.
Fido.
That's not cruelty.
Free Fido.
But I'm picking this example because it shocks people. Like, whoa, that's bad. That's That's gross. Because they've lived in a culture that has brainwashed them to say, oh yeah, it's fine. Masturbation is fine. Sodomy is fine. These things are fine. And so now I have to say, look, if you take that thinking as to why you think it's fine, you got to accept all these other things. Because I gave the other example. I don't know if I mentioned I think before the show, but it doesn't have to even just be a living animal. What about people who have used roadkill as...
Wait, I'm sorry. Did you just say, you remember before we were setting up for the show, remember I mentioned when we were both given water and some, maybe get something to eat before the show starts, and you remember we were talking, I brought up used roadkill, remember? Before the show? No, we were just talking before the show, and, there's a sandwich place down below, and, we're just getting ready for the show, getting to know each other a little bit. Remember I brought up sex with roadkill? Yeah, like that. He's debating he's debating a girl who's only known for being naked online and barely winning. Says a lot, yeah. Yep. It's rough. This is rough. Oh my gosh.
As a masturbatory aid. So that's necrophilic bestiality.
Yeah, you could still
There's no cruelty there, but clearly that's freaking messed up.
Yeah.
But you can't.
It's freaking crummy, y'all. It's a friggin' messed up. I mean, it's so crummy to do that. It's such a crummy thing.
Can't say it's wrong.
No, I could still say something is disorder the same way if someone told me they refuse to eat any foods that aren't.
I actually can't say it's disordered. I would press her on this, Trent. You can't say anything's disordered from her view.
Like the color blue, we would think that's like, again, a proxy for some mental issue.
No, that's not
We should probably try to correct for its disorder.
Nope. Not even close. Hey, yo!
Go! That is a big super chat!
Thank you so much, Flavius, coming in with a massive 100 buckaroos to Jortlandian infrastructure. This mentality is exactly why there is a Muslim prayer room in the Vatican and feminists are subverting the faith. Yes. This woman should be obliterated in this exchange, aggressively. That's just crummy and yucky. I think sex with a dead animal is, at least crummy. Or, you could go a little bit further and say it's friggin' messed up. It's friggin' messed up. It seems pretty messed up. He's not going to push back on this, right? He really should. Thank you again, Flavius. Really, really appreciate that big donation. Freaking messed up. Okay, you got to push back. You can't say order, just like the evolution debates I do. There is no order from her perspective. There's no standard for order. Everything's incidental. It just happens to unfold. You can't say anything's disordered.
I don't know if I would necessarily call it immoral the same way. Again, if the issue for you isn't any animal cruelty or the desires of the animal, why not swap bestiality for, like you said, dendrophilia, people who like to have sex with trees?
They're all
dandruff.
Also, when most people say they're weird too.
Is it morally wrong? Is that morally wrong?
Yeah, that's not what trees are for. You are... Although,
is it as morally
not what trees are for?
Wrong as bestiality?
Is it as morally wrong?
It should be by your view, because it's irrelevant about because you don't think animals are rational agents, so it has nothing to do with the effects or harms on the animal. Different
disordered activities can be right or wrong based on various circumstances. All right. So, I think that fornication, like having sex outside of marriage, is wrong, and also that rape is wrong.
Seriously.
Because sex is for expressing marital love.
But that rape is worse than fornication, yeah.
Right, even though both of them contribute, because what is marital love? Marital love is the...
I have no debate experience besides casually trolling YouTube lives. I would instantly jump on immoral, quote, and disordered. Immediately. Yeah. And like, even his defense of this, part of it's going to be like, adjacently true. There's something about the function and teleology of sex where we can point to it and the perversion of that, a movement away from that. We could point to that. And I'm actually not sure how Catholics sort of fully extrapolate sex and the expression of sex between a man and woman, husband and wife. But it seems like a lot of times they appeal to like what's found in nature. They're like, this is normal, that's not normal. At least from what I've seen. Free Brian, free Fido. We need some Ruslan to get a gangster perspective. He should have Ruslan on. That would be a really, say what you will about Ruslan, but it's like if he shows up in a podcast, you kind of want to watch it just to see what the heck happens. And out of that whole crew, it's much easier for me to watch Ruslan than it is to watch George Janko or the Johnny Chang guy.
The free gift of self. So it's wrong in fornication because you have not been bonded together, and it's wrong in rape because you're not freely giving.
Yeah,
so yeah, you could pick. I'm picking all of these other examples because once people start to think about it, they say, oh yeah, this is. Or there's other, well, I can get away from those.
Wait, sorry, one more thing. So the reason that rape for you is morally worse than fornication is because the reason fornication is wrong is primarily because it's sex outside of marriage. The reason that rape is wrong is because, one, it could be sex outside of marriage. Two, you're lacking the necessary condition of consent. So it's two things. For you, the one main reason for why bestiality is wrong has nothing to do with the effects of the animal or the animal's personal desires because they're not rational agents to you. It's just that they're using sex in a disordered way. So dendrophilia should be as disordered to you on the same level as bestiality because it's not introducing a second wrong thing.
See, the third part about this is what personhood is. What is personhood? What's the exchange of energies from the Christian perspective between a man and a woman? Like, what is this participation? What is it? Is it sacramental? What's going on here? He goes to, well, a tree can't fulfill its purpose as a person who can have kids or something. So it's like masturbating with a tree, essentially. But the other important aspect here from a Christian view is what is a human? What's a person? And notice that for any other debate, the question of what a person is has to come up. Whether you're talking about legality, like what should the law be? How should we behave in society? How shouldn't we behave in society? Ultimately, you're going to whittle it down to what a human actually is. What is it to be human? What does it mean from a Christian perspective? And what does it mean to a secularist? The root of all of this here, regardless of how bad Trent is at, summarizing or giving us an account of what a human is and what are the exchanges between human beings and how is it different than our exchanges with other living creatures like animals or a tree or anything. The ultimate defeater is that Farah here, no matter what they're talking about, doesn't have an account of what a human is, such that we have a peculiar stance and position in the world with each other and with other things in the world. But he doesn't do that because these people don't do what they call pre-supping, right? Oh, I'm not going to do that. That's a Jay Dyer thing. And, it sucks because what ends up happening is you run around in circles and you never get to the core of the position. According to Farah, a human is just a different complex organism that does functions. And animals are a different one. And there's really no reason why the worst kind of thoughts, the worst possible types of activities with animals or other humans could be wrong. Doesn't even have to go to Fido. You can just go to squeakycleancadavers.com.
thing.
It depends.
Rape versus fornication adds a second wrong thing, a second transgression of a necessary condition.
No.
What does bestiality offer that dendrophilia doesn't, since you're not factoring in the animal's
This is a name the trait tactic.
desires?
No, I'm saying that essentially, whether you call it dendrophilia or bestiality or necrophilic bestiality, roadkill. So that's not
roadkill. Hashtag roadkill.
Not involving any infliction of cruelty whatsoever, or consensual necrophilia. Your spouse dies, agrees to be stuffed and kept in the house, and
stuffed. Gosh, I don't know how he does it, guys. I don't know how he accidentally makes everything the worst. There you go, JB. Evo is true. The Licholotopus has evolved into dogs, and now this is their evidence. Yeah. And here's Trent Horn.
Do whatever you want. Essentially, all of these things, they're essentially masturbation with different masturbatory tools.
Yeah, so that's what I'm saying.
That's what they all
They
are.
should all be the same level. Masturbating in a sock should be seen as immoral as having engaging in bestiality. You could say it's more disordered because it could be more of a proxy for mental illness because it's more atypical and antisocial. But from a moral point of view, they all have the same transgression, which is just that it transgresses that, in your view, sex ought to be between a husband and wife.
But here's the problem. You called it disordered earlier. You called bestiality disordered.
I didn't call it. Yes, but when I say disordered, same way a person who says I will not eat any food that isn't the color blue. That's what I mean by disordered.
How about just occasional?
I'm not saying morally.
They have sex.
This is rough, man. What are you doing, dude? What are we doing? Trent, what are we doing? I can't do it. I honestly can't do it. I gotta stop looking and listening. I hate them. I hate them both. I actually hate them both. Oh, no, you could stay. Look, we reached the same place at the same time, Space Lord. You're not alone. The thing is, the other suggestion was listening to Brian Shapiro. That's difficult to listen to. Thank you, come again. Thank you, come again. Maybe I'm wrong, but I think the RCC position is bad because of Aquinas' logic. Thomas said incest is better than self-abuse because a son and a mother or sister can't make babies. Yeah, that's utility-based function. It's like, oh, they can't do this. Yeah, it's not. It has to be through the, like, how do I say this? Like a perversion has to be in reflection of some structure that exists. Like even in Orthodoxy, there's spiritual incest to avoid, even with godparents. And so you wouldn't argue the spiritual perversion for godparents is some naturalistic variable, obviously. It's spiritual incest. So obviously when we're talking about perversion and these kind of things, they're in contrast to some metaphysics, some philosophical scaffolding that you're comparing it to. Fembot versus Tradcath, winner no one. Right, yeah. Fembot versus Tradcath, winner no one. Loser Brian in the audience. Well, it's just feminism versus feminism. That's all it is. And they don't really get to a core of the argument. It's like, let's have a general conversation with no prompt, where it's just a debate. Like, I don't know what it is. That's why I don't really like the open-ended ones. I like rigorous debates. I like one that's zeroed in. Keeps you on track. Gives the moderator a what to do. You know, what's on track? Nothing. Nothing's on track. It's just open-ended. Cambam, rational and airtight, quote, logical syllogism cannot demonstrate the effective schemata for reality as experienced. I kind of agree with you. Rationalism itself, you can't use that ultimately as the end-all be-all. Which is why you should, come to orthodoxy, because the noetic faculties and the experiential aspect of reality includes the rational and the logical, mathematical, empirical, but it's not reduced to it. So we're all waiting, Cambam. All you got to do is, get in that little Subaru and get your butt over to Divine Liturgy and, start your catechism. Come on down. We're waiting for you. What are they debating? I don't know. I don't even know what they were debating. Trent Horn's unbearable, though. Honestly, hard to even look at. Just so soft. Such a little pudgy little kid's Band-Aid. You know what I mean? Yeah, he's like a, I don't even know how to explain him. He's like one of those corner cushions. You put the cushion on the corner of a table. He's like a corner cushion as a person. What kind of person is he? Metaphysics Mike put up a video. Trinity literally, blah, 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 expose equivocation. Dude, that's your entire identity, Mike. People are getting bored of it, right? People are getting bored of it. You guys have no ecclesiology. There's no way to participate and practice in Unitarian Christianity. It doesn't even make sense. There's nothing to participate in. That's my Unitarianism is not even relevant. It's just when we're bored. It's like Mormons. Like, hey, what's up on the schedule? Any big Catholic debates or this or that, Well, no. How about Mormonism? Okay. All right, I'll go play darts. We'll play some darts. No. Listen, Metaphysics Mike, your entire identity is anti-Trinitarianism. You don't have a positive stance. And because you rely on anti-Trinitarianism as your go-to, you're just going to constantly need to feed on Trinitarians, right? That's your lunch. That's what supports you. You don't have a positive view to bring people to you. That's why people get bored of you. You're looping. You loop. So you're not going to get the same clicks from people. We're going to respond once. We're going to debate once, and that's it. There's nothing else to do or say. I don't need to still engage. It's always the same arguments, dude. This is something. This is Benjamin Michael. Wait a second. Sorry. All right. Oh yeah, I was hiding the boobies. Hold on. I had to hide the butt crack boobies from Vagine. Hold on a second. This is an announcement, okay? So you guys are interested here. Here we go. Hold on. Chase says, have you reviewed Lawrence Krauss' podcast? I can't listen to him either. The Origins podcast. His comment section will probably provide a new evolutionist to debate. He's another person, Chase, where it's so bad. He did so horrible against Mike Jones. Mike Jones just completely ate that guy alive. He's done. He's done. Anyway, this is an announcement, I guess.
Huge announcement, guys. Many of you know Nick, my friend Fearless Truth. He and I are launching what will be the largest Orthodox apologetics website in the world. The website is orthodoxworldwide.com. On the front page is our largest feature, which will allow you to ask whatever Orthodox questions you have. At first, many of the questions will be unanswered, in which case you can submit a question and myself, Nick, and others who know way more about Orthodoxy than us will answer the question tailored to you. You can also click this sidebar right here and this pops out. Of note,
this better not come with an Essence energy drink, okay?
You can donate right here because Nick and I are eventually going to be going full-time in this. Additional features on top of the Q&A are the Tree of Knowledge, debate topics, and Parish Finder. Under the Parish Finder, you just put your zip.
That's the key one right there, okay? If there's anything to support, aside from the propositional responses that this thing's going to give you, the most important thing is this, Parish Finder.
Code in and it'll pop up with all the parishes near you. If your parish isn't listed, go ahead and go to feedback and
Are you muted? No, you're not actually muted, but we mute you in our minds.
email us here at feedback@orthodoxworldwide.com with your parish, and we'll add it to the database. Please help push this video out. This is...
Riziel says, I'm not entirely sold on the idea. Well, the things like this, I don't know the answer. Like, you know, the overlap of like ChatGPT and some sort of like oracle that represents orthodoxy propositionally. My concern with this, I have no problem like sharing this and just, you know, seeing what it is, where it goes. Ultimately, it'll have to filter through orthodoxy, through the church practice and all that. So it's not, I don't have a strong position. I could say though that a sort of all-knowing source of answers for orthodoxy could limit people. That's why the parish finder would be important. That's why running this thing would ultimately be important to first and foremost get people toward practice, not chasing answers. Okay, that would be my one concern, right? For Mario there, or Luigi. Sorry, Luigi. But I'm sure they think about that too, right? I'm sure that's the case. It's just that that'll be the thing, right? That'll be the one thing that if people are stalling and they're stuck in a loop of answering questions inside orthodoxy from a all-knowing source, if there's a moment where that stops them from getting to the parish, then it's working against people. So it'll work against people. Do I interpret orthodoxy to be true? Not in the same way I interpret like a story to be true or false. I'm not the arbiter for something being logically coherent or not. So do I interpret something to be logically coherent? Yes. That doesn't mean I'm the standard for it being logically coherent. So yes, but I'm not the authority. So that's a distinction. Interpreting something to be true isn't the same as it is true because I interpret it to be true. This is different. These are two different things. Well, I'm not saying that you are saying that they are the same thing, but it seems like the setup is that. I've heard it a million times. Yeah, that's what I'm saying, Caleb. Yeah. So, you know, he shared that with me. You know, I don't know what to think of it. I don't have a strong position either way. If it's a problem, if it ends up being a problem, then it'll be seen as a problem. But that's really funny, Caleb. If every response was go to liturgy, it would be hilarious. Five more. So today's Ortho Thugs, it's almost 2 for me. I usually end at like 3 to give myself 2 hours of rest and eat time. I don't know if there's any other subjects here. Hold on a second, you guys. Oh, never mind. Can you not apply that logic to Sola Scriptura? No, the Sola Scriptura argument against sola scriptura is that the Bible itself was, first of all, was ever made for laity to interpret it or private people to interpret it. That was never the case, first of all. The logic against sola scriptura is specifically a stance that Scripture is the ultimate authority. That's the stance. So that's a very specific position. And we ask them, if Scripture is the ultimate authority, we ask them, does Scripture need to be interpreted? And they say, yeah. So then the position, Scripture is the ultimate authority, isn't true. And it's as simple as that. That's not even getting to the normative question of normative authority, interpretive, hermeneutic authority. You can debunk sola scriptura without any of the subsequent counter arguments that you would that would eventually come up. By the way, they always do. Have you encountered Orthodox doctrines that you can't piece together how they make sense, but you accept them anyway based on authority? Not really. No, I mean, there's an aspect of the Trinity that I have to basically assume the limitation would be at mystery, but I don't have any problem accepting mysteries. I accept mysteries in the here now. Just looking at the world, I accept mysteries. So, but not really. Have I challenged? Yeah, he didn't even acknowledge it even as a public, I'm not big enough. He knows I exist, but I'm not big enough, and also he has way more to lose. That's not something he's gonna, in his current, where he is currently, theologically, his channel, who he is in this world of apologetics. No, that would be a mistake for him anyway. Too much to lose. But it's one of my favorite debates. Like the Christian defense of evolution is one of my favorite debates to attack. I'll probably do that on Scud, honestly, but not with me, because I'll be the moderator. Why are people so dumb? It's also in mystery. Yeah. Baby Moose, $5. Have you heard of the Turkish Khazarian Empire? Its forgotten superpower in the Byzantine era explains where these fake Jewish... Yes, I've... not too in-depth, but the Khazars... That little movement... The fake Jews, yeah. I haven't done a deep dive, though. I'm not that great at... going through history and being a history communicator. What is Scud? I missed the announcement. Oh, Scud. Scud is an evening of debate.
Savage Carnage Unlimited Debates.
Savage Carnage Unlimited Debates is a debate evening here on my channel that's brought to you by Ortho Thugs, me and Tony. And it's a debate evening that has 3 rounds, 2 interlocutors, go back and forth. In this case, Christian nationalism is the prompt against secularism, which better for society. Our first debaters are Planet Peterson and Steelborn. And what makes Scud a little bit different is that the audience participation is increased because you can send a super chat and actually trigger an effect on one of the interlocutors.
Interpretation necessitates one has the ability to weigh information and distinguish what is and is not coherent. The prot has no normative authority to measure their interpretation against. A Calvinist is determined to believe in the scriptures or not. Chase
yes, thank you, Chase. Yeah, and that brings up the distinction that always gets conflated about certitude and normative authority. It's not the same. We're talking about 2 different things. Anyway, so yeah, the enjoyment is this. You're going to be able to watch a debate, get all the debate content. None of that's affected, right? But what's included is you'll be able to actually purchase effects on each of the individuals. So I will tell you what those effects are on Scud Night in the intro. There'll be short breaks in between rounds where you'll get a short summary exchange between me and Tony as the we're going to be doing the analytics. We're going to be talking about how the debaters are doing, weaknesses, strengths, who may have gotten owned, who didn't. And then we'll shortly, briefly get back to the warfare, the battle, and it'll end in a third round with a conclusion and a closing statement. And then maybe in the future we'll get into some sort of panel. For now, it's just going to be the one-on-one. We're going to test the tech, test the show, cut our teeth on it. It's going to be great. It includes also different visuals. So, we think that that's been missing from the debate world. So we're going to bring it, okay? That's what we're going to bring. That's what we doing. That's what we going to be doing. Rachel versus Tony. Well, Tony is not going to be debating. I know he's had his first little exchange officially with Rob Knorr on Rob's channel. That was it's actually very entertaining. So next Thursday on the 30th at 8 p.m. Mountain Standard Time, Scud will finally show itself. I'll explain more to you then, but just know you're looking forward to, as audience members, the ability to purchase 4 different effects that'll actually affect your choice interlocutor. So that's going to be cool. Cool. Very cool stuff. And yeah. There you go. Rachel? Yeah. I don't even know. There's going to be all sorts of things to debate. I don't want too goofy of topics. I did think of things that are more silly and mimetic, like, was the Empire the good guys in Star Wars? This is a good one. It's a good one. Silly little things, Maybe I can get Trent on to talk about, roadkill. Pie to the face? I'm not going to tell you. We're not telling you. I'm not telling you. Meme debates? Yeah, it's a meme debate season, I think. Chat, how did Jim Bob get that nice beard? It evolved from fish scales. My beard is actually made of the same exact composition as eagle feathers, if you look close enough. Ryan Gosling being any good actor at all. Ryan Gosling. Worst. Just dead face. His eyes are too close together, too. Way too close. Oh, we didn't meet the latest goal. Huh. What a scam. What an absolute scam. Evolution will be debated again. We need to get better evolution counter debaters. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? You guys know what I'm saying? All right, was there anything else that I missed you guys wanted me to look at? You guys said a couple things. That was terrible. Trent Horn's terrible performance. Just the weakest position. How do you do call-ins? I do call-ins. It depends on what we want to talk about. Usually you guys are exhausting, to be honest. It's exhausting listening to you guys. No offense. Does the audience even like it when someone calls in? I can't even tell. Honestly, I can't even tell. If you're going to log off soon, Jim Bob, you should read The Crucible because, yeah, I see that starting, actually. You know, I have no problem ending a little early because we have Ortho Thugs tonight, and I got to eat lunch and I got to take a little bit of a breather. I need another coffee and stuff, so. Is he really debating Brian Shapiro versus Andrew Wilson? Creepy Brian debate. Is it, Rachel, is it that Brian's creepy? Is that it? That's hilarious. You guys wanted a meme debate. There it is. He is creepy. Look. Dude, he even mask texted me, dude, like an ex-girlfriend. Out of nowhere. And you know what he did? He was accusing me and tried to categorize me as MAGA. He doesn't even know what I think, apparently. He's just like, anybody against me is MAGA, and they're just MAGA. I'm like, what are you talking about? What are you even saying, dude? All right. Well, to do the transfer, I'm going to pretend that goal is still going. Just mentally, I need it fulfilled. 4 more, y'all. Just give me 4 more. I'll send you over. I'll continue my day. I need to eat lunch. I need to rest. I need a shower. No, not my number. I'm saying he slid into my DMs, started yelling at me. And then he eventually I was like, what are you even arguing with me about? I actually don't even know what you're arguing. And he said, yeah, that's what I thought, coward. And then he just left and blocked me. I was like, you are a freak show, dude. You are a freak. Like, I was going to call into his show because he was like, why don't you call in and tell me everything? And I'm like, what do you want to actually debate? He was like, anything, whatever it is. I don't care. I'm like, what? I don't get it. You're asking me. You're challenging me right now. Yeah, so I'll do anything. I'll debate anything. Okay. There's one right there. 3 more. Thank you so much, Joey Pyle, coming in with his consistent 20. Yeah, we're doing a raid fee. It's a new thing on the internet. It's a pay to raid. Pay to play, pay to raid. Christ is risen from the dead, trampling down death by death. That's a raid fee. Okay, 2 of those count. Okay, you got $4. I'll count it as 1. So there's 2 more actually still. Thank you, John Mondragon. Thank you. Brian Shapiro is broken? Yes, it's bad. It's bad stuff. Soundbite, Tony's creepy from the song when Brian Shapiro is brought up. Thank you, John Mondragon, a big tenor. I like the raid fee. It's a good idea, actually. Great idea. I feel like I just pioneered something. The beginning of something beautiful. And upon those in the tombs. Share that. I wish, I'm not a part of, we're not Appalachian Orthodox. But I wish we could just appropriate that 1 year. Just for 1 year. Raid fee, thank you so much. I really appreciate that, you guys. Otherwise, it would have been crummy. It would have been a crummy end to the stream. Make sure you're following Ortho Thugs, you guys. It's a fun time. We're going to talk music. It's going to be a relaxed Ortho Thugs stream. We're very excited about our new format, which consists of an Ortho Thugs proper show at the beginning of the month, goes into Heal Tony, which is a ripoff from Kill Tony, but better. And then it goes into Scud the next week, and then it completes the cycle of the month. Sorry, I said that. Must be some residuals from Trent Horn with another Ortho Thugs. So, very fun stuff. So make sure you check Ortho Thugs, give it a link, put on the notification, please. Help Ortho Thugs grow. It's a unique hidden gem. I know you want to keep it all to yourself, but don't do that. Thank you so much, Vagine. Thanks, Vagine. Jess Heck, another $5. Thank you so much, you guys, for the ongoing support here in Jortlandia, the best hidden gem stream on the entire internet, 100%. You know, I'm like the dive bar that's still cool. You know it. I know it. I know. You think if you share it and it becomes wildly successful, you think you're going to lose your little dive bar. It's going to be replaced with a dollar store. I know. All right. I think that's it. You guys enjoy the rest of your day. God bless you all. See you guys later at 5 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. Ortho Thugs. Be there. It's fun. And with that, I don't know. Tomorrow's Saturday, so I don't even know if I'm going to do anything. I still have to... You know what I have to do? I'm gonna finish my Bryce Crawford animation. I got everything ready. I'm going to do that. That'll be ready Monday for you guys to view. I'm a Jortmunist. Yep. That's it. You guys know. If you don't know, now you know. I'm out.
Jimmy crack corn and I don't really care no more. What he gotta say, it's irrelevant. Once upon a time, could have been a partner of mine. Now he's getting checks from the government. I don't care where your idol stands, protecting his hands from culture jams with the oven mitt. It's another soldier got caught, all ain't what you thought. Nothing here is done for the fun of it. I don't care what you say, I'm on some new shit. I don't care if you're digging what I'm doing. I don't care what you think about my music. I don't care, you're not the reason I do this. Always going. I don't care if I die without you knowing. Tried to catch your eye for a stint until I realized what that meant. Jimmy crack corn and I don't really care no more. What he gotta say, it's irrelevant. Once upon a time, could have been a partner of mine. Now he's getting checks from the government. I don't care where your idol stands, protecting his hands from culture jams with the oven mitt. It's another soldier got caught, all ain't what you thought. Nothing here was done for the fun of it. I don't care what you say, I'm on some new shit. I don't care if you're digging what I'm doing. I don't care what you think about my music. I don't care, you're not the reason I do this. Always going. I don't care if I die without you knowing. Tried to catch your eye for a stint